친애하는 동지들, 영영한 인민군 장병들과 사랑하는 온나라 전체 인민들, 그리운 동포 형제 여러분, 우리는 조국 역사의 특이할 사변들로 빛나게 아로새겨진 이 전공 12년을 보내고 원대한 포부와 최후 승리에 대한 신심에 넘쳐 새해 2013년을 맞이합니다.
Decided that I gotta make this video to show the world that I'm part of the Donald Trump phenomenon. Because we stand with him, we know where he's coming from, we know that this guy has been a successful man.
Что вы думаете о Дональде Трампе? Ну, он яркий очень человек, талантливый, без всяких сомнений. Но это не наше дело определять его достоинство, это дело избирателей в Соединенных Штатах. Но он абсолютный лидер, мы сегодня видим, президентской гонки. Он говорит о том, что хочет перейти к другому уровню отношений, более плотному, глубокому уровню отношений с Россией. Ну, разве мы можем это не приветствовать? Конечно, мы это приветствуем.
Hindu Sena! Hindu Sena! Donald Trump! Jai Shri Ram! Jai Shri Ram! Jai Shri Ram! Jai Shri Ram! Donald Trump! Donald Trump!
अरे क्या कर रहे हैं भाई?
Donald Trump! Hillary Clinton! Hillary Clinton! Hillary Clinton!
It is the consequence of a leadership class that worships globalism over Americanism.
Just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Because you'd be in jail.
Secretary Clinton.
Deleting 39,000 emails. You should be ashamed of yourself.
All right, here we are. Welcome everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Red Ice Live. My name is Henrik, and with us in the studio we have Lana.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining.
Hey, how's it going today? You doing well?
Not too
you
bad.
Pumped?
Yeah, we'll see about that.
You will see about that. Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. So this is Red Ice TV, obviously, and we are doing a live special coverage here of the final debate between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. This will be a lot of fun, I think. And just, I guess, a couple of words here in the outset. You know, I don't know anybody that believes that Donald Trump is going to come along as a messiah and save all our, you know, rescue us from all our problems, right? But you have to kind of point out this issue of, I've heard from some, you know this too, Lana, of some of the people in the alternative, the truth movement, and even the conspiracy field and all these, you know, areas where they basically talk about that Donald Trump is in on it, right? That he's part of the game,
Controlled
he's part of all
opposition,
this stuff, right? Yeah. And I just have to say that there's like, we've seen, you know, if they wanted to sell us Donald Trump, they would have done what they did with Obama in 2008, right? I mean, they sold him as a freaking messiah. Everyone was for him. It was a mind control experiment, the whole damn thing, right? And that's not what we're seeing with Donald Trump, right? So he might not be perfect. He doesn't check all the boxes. Obviously, this is like, you know, ridiculous to assume that someone would come along specifically for people on the alt-right, you know, and check all these boxes or whatever. But in terms of keeping Hillary out and in terms of the things that he has done so far, and just for the fact alone, Lana, that, you know, the banking establishment, the media establishment, everything, you know, that the many people within the truth movement and alternative media and all this stuff talking about, they are against him. You know, they are
Correct.
against him on this. And so
Correct.
therefore I think that's reason enough to like say, oh, he's obviously doing something right. You know?
I think he's arising from a true populist movement, and I think it's sad, but a lot of our people and a lot of people in the conspiracy world, they're so used to losing. They're so
That's
used
right.
to not having one of our people actually make it and get in there, you know? Of
Yeah.
course, we know that Trump is not the savior. He doesn't check every box, but this is a step in the right direction here. You know, he's literally talking about global cabals and corrupt media and bankers. What other presidential candidate has ever brought that conversation forward? People
When
are
have we heard
actually booing CNN now. This is true progress.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, it's like, you know, you take what you can get, and we have to recognize that this is a step in the right direction, you know.
Yeah.
But who knows? Maybe he'll get in and he'll derail completely. We don't know. But the fact is, this is not like taking a chance on someone that would be equivalent on taking a chance on Obama in 2008.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. Because everyone's against him. And yes,
Yeah.
I know there's some suspicious characters around him, but at the end of the day, he's an alpha male. He's got a healthy ego. I think he does his own thing.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see what happens.
That's absolutely right. Well, we have a guest panel with us today. We're going to have a lot of fun today, I think. We have a scoreboard set up and all kinds of cool stuff. We're going to take points live during the debate itself. And I guess we're going to reach some kind of consensus here between the panel and us and see who gets the points or whatever. But yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. And we will be talking over some of it. You know, we'll be taking stabs and kind of do direct analysis of it. But we'll try to be quick and not too long-winded so you can actually hear some of the debates as well. But Lana, why don't you introduce our panel as we get started here?
First, we have James Edwards. Say hello, James.
There we go. Oh, is it with us?
Everyone else out?
There we
James
go.
Edwards.
There we
Hello,
go.
hello.
Try again.
All right. Hello, everybody. It's great to be with you tonight. It's been a very busy year, and I'm happy to make this one of my final stops. And we're looking forward to a good show tonight.
That's right. And also Catalyst joining us. Say hello.
Hey. How you guys doing?
Not too bad.
Very good.
Judgy Bitch, welcome. Janet.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a great pleasure.
And also we have Jazz Hands McFeels. Lots of J names here.
Good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing?
Not too bad. And Angelo John Gage.
Folks, glad to be here. It's always an honor to see you guys.
And lastly, we have Jay Dyer.
This is a travesty. This is not real media, okay? Henrik, get out of here. I'm kidding. That's just my Trump impersonation.
It's pretty good. It's pretty
I'll be
good,
doing
actually.
my Hillary later, so don't worry.
Oh, yeah. We definitely want to get some Hillary later. Yeah, exactly. So
I think that's when he just falls on the floor. Loses his shoe.
we're all kind of waiting to see that, though. Let's be honest about this. I mean, we want to see her collapse live on stage.
Yes, we do. So maybe if enough people will it, we can make it happen. Some good sorcery going
It's like
here.
watching the Special Olympics. Like, you feel sorry for them, but it's also fucking hilarious.
It couldn't happen to a nicer person. That's all.
It's funny that y'all mentioned it in those terms. I gave a talk in Michigan last Saturday, and I said that I hope that she not only falls to the floor, but falls to the floor and starts spinning. I mean, I want to see theatrics.
Oh, man.
Well, let's hope she's not wearing a skirt, man. That's too much.
No, she always has her Uncle Mao, her
Oh, she wears
Chairman
diapers.
Mao.
It's all right. Yeah.
That's to cover it up.
Underneath her clothes.
I feel sorry for the Secret
If you-
Service that's got to grab that pussy.
Yeah, if you notice, she's actually been looking a lot more and more like Trump. Similar hairstyle, similar pantsuit. They see where it's going, and she just looks terrible and shabby every time she shows up.
So what do you guys think of of where this one is going to go? I mean, we've read the shackles are going to come off. I guess the gloves are off. The second debate, I mean, was really good. It started out very weird and awkward, to be honest, to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Unhinged. It was like, where is this going? And turned into just like Hillary was a punching bag. What do you guys think is going to happen today? What are we in for today?
Well, I think if I could jump in first, I don't think Trump, being the showman that he is going to ratchet down. We had the poor first debate, then we had all of the excitement and the action of the second debate. I don't think you taper back and give the audience an in-between of the first two. I think it's everything we saw in the second plus. That's what I'm expecting tonight from Donald Trump.
Totally agreed. I think he's got her on the ropes. I mean, the last debate was he was in the position to basically in the defense, and he still came out looking so strong. I think right now he's just going to annihilate her. I think it's going to be hilarious.
That's kind of what worries me, though, because typically men can't win fights with women. If you get in a fight with a woman and you beat her up, you're a bully and you're not a real man. But if you stand there and you get your ass whooped by a woman, you're a pussy and you're also not a real man. So you typically can't win a fight with a woman. Now, I think that Hillary maybe is not playing her woman card enough. If she comes out in like a frilly pink suit, she can actually activate the white knights. Like, doesn't matter what a cunt she is. There's a lot of guys who simply can't handle watching a woman get fucking just hammered. And if she's smart, she'll play that. But I don't think she's smart. I don't think she understands relationships between men and women very well, because she does far too much carpet munching.
Well, I agree. She's too psych. Like, she's a psych. I mean, the WikiLeaks even show that she has this, like, we have to make her look more human. So she's coming out there like this. Like, that's a wonderful temperament. Yeah, Jeffrey Dahmer had a nice temperament too when he seduced women and ate them later on. I mean, but the point is, I think Trump's going to come in. He's probably going to drop some WikiLeaks. He has to. He has to do it. I think he's going to do it, like he did in his, what was it, North Carolina just recently talked about the FBI. He does that, and then he's going to put her in a position, and he's going to just go from there.
Well, he's great on the fly too. That's what I like about him too. Is just that he can. I mean, he can be coming at it from anything, and like he dropped that. Yeah, you would be in jail comment last time.
That's awesome. Yeah, that was amazing.
Quick little
stab. Like I said, that's what we're gonna see tonight. Where I don't think he'll come across like a bully, but I think he's gonna, she's gonna set him up, and he's just gonna knock everything she has down.
That's exactly right. Yeah, there have been no new scandals this week. There's been steady improvement in the polls. Trump isn't up against anything. All the scandals that they tried to roll out there, the fake Trump victims, have had no effect. And Trump is ostensibly going to be doing the Hillary highlight reel, bringing WikiLeaks to the front. It's been ignored by the media. He's going to be deflecting whatever attacks she tries to bring up against him. But these are things that we've all heard before. So Trump is really in a great position to start off the night.
I hope he opens with Veritas, Project Veritas, because that stuff is amazing.
Should we play that? Should we listen to that clip for a moment for those who don't know? Let's actually do that. We have that.
Pulled out some highlights.
Let's just take a look at this and see what happened here.
It doesn't matter what the freaking legal and ethics people say. We need to win this motherfucker.
Hillary is aware of all the work that you guys do. I hope.
The campaign is fully enemies.
And then they tell Hillary what's going on.
Well, I mean, Hillary knows through the chain of command.
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting we wait around. We need to start this shit right away.
Okay.
On every one of these fronts.
Okay.
What I call it is conflict engagement.
Mm-hmm. That's your version of reenfranchisement.
Conflict engagement in the lines at Trump rallies. We're starting anarchy here.
This is part one of our undercover investigation into the dark, backroom dealings of the Hillary Clinton presidential campaign. The culmination of a year-long investigation infiltrating the machine from the bottom all the way to the White House.
I'm basically Deputy Rapid Response Director for the DNC for all things Trump on the ground. Nobody's really supposed to know about me.
You know what I'm saying? We have mentally ill people that we pay to do shit. Make no mistake.
This guy named Cesar Vargas is his name.
I got a priest to cry on camera once.
Brad and Bob and Lux and myself are all part of the old school method where it doesn't matter what the freaking legal and ethics people say. We need to win this motherfucker.
There is a narrative that supporters at Trump rallies are violent and dangerous, looking to beat up protesters who don't agree with them. But our undercover investigation into the Hillary Clinton Democratic Party machine reveals a very different story.
If you're there and you're protesting and you do these actions, you will be attacked at Trump rallies. That's what we know.
So that's part of the process of eliciting the reaction.
The whole point of it is we know that Trump's people will freak the fuck out. His security team will freak out, and his supporters will lose their shit.
Fovel and his people train the agitators to go to Trump rallies, and nothing is left to chance.
There's a script.
Oh, there is a script.
There's a script.
Okay.
There's a script of engagement. Sometimes the crazies bite, and sometimes the crazies don't bite. They're starting confrontations in the line, right? They're not starting confrontations
to volunteers
in the rally, because once they're inside the rally, they're under Secret Service's control. When they're outside the rally,
they're more affected out. They're harder to get in.
The media will cover it no matter where it happens.
I assume it's always in the rally.
Initiating the conflict by having leading conversations with people who are naturally psychotic.
Right.
Okay, I mean, honestly, it is not hard to get some of these assholes to pop off.
Right.
It's a matter of showing up to want to get into the rally in a Planned Parenthood t-shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Or, Trump is a Nazi, you can message to draw them out and draw them to punch you.
Fovel boasts about the extent of his network of operatives.
So here, you have a schedule of events. We update this on an ongoing, rolling basis every morning.
Those are all the Trump appearances.
These are all the Trump and Pence appearances. Tomorrow, for instance, we are turning out 500 people in front of the Trump International in D.C. We have to have people prepared to go wherever these events are, which means we have to have a central kind of agitator training.
Yep.
Now, we have a built-in group of people in New York who do this.
Okay.
We have a built-in group of people in D.C. who do this.
I was going to say, are they localized?
We have a group of people in Vegas. We have a group of people in Colorado. We have a group of people in Minneapolis.
So I'm basically Deputy Rapid Response Director for the DNC for all things Trump on the ground. So the Chicago protest, when they shut all that was us.
What we don't need is for it to show up on CNN that the DNC paid for X people to. That's not going to happen.
CNN would never say that. Come on.
CNN was forced to cover this, by the way.
Yeah,
They were forced.
really? Ultimately, the whole endeavor is to get negative press of Trump and his supporters in local and national media.
It's something that Bob and I obsess about.
Remember this woman? Her name is Shirley Teeter. She is a 69-year-old sufferer of COPD. According to numerous news stories at the time, she was assaulted at a Trump rally in North Carolina by Trump supporter Richard Campbell. The media played her story across the country for days.
She was one of our activists.
You know what I'm saying? We have mentally ill people that we pay to do shit. Make no mistake. Over the last 20 years, I've paid off a few homeless guys to do some crazy stuff, and I've also taken them for dinner, and I've also made sure they had a hotel and a shower, and I put them in a program. Like, I've done that, but the reality is a lot of, especially in our union guys, a lot of our union guys, they'll do whatever you want.
I mean, this is amazing.
Whatever you want.
Absolutely amazing.
I mean, these people they're so crazy they would pay someone to kill Trump, right?
They're organized, though. We got to give them that. These commies are organized for sure.
But if it's up to Trump. Trump has to make this an issue tonight because God knows the media at large is not going to, at least relative to all of these paid actresses who, after all of these years, suddenly remembered 2 or 3 weeks before the election that Trump turned into an octopus and raped him on an airplane. But he has to do this. The media is not going to do it. He has to do it tonight. This is the third and final. All eyes on him. If he doesn't bring all of this stuff out tonight, that first debate was 24 days ago. Think of all of the twists and turns that have happened in the last 3.5 weeks. It's been incredible. He has to hit her on all of this, and it could. I mean, she is so criminally corrupt, but it could make the difference. It could make the difference. He's got to bring light to this WikiLeaks stuff because, again, ABC, CBS, CNN, all of the National Press Corps could walk into a bedroom with Hillary Clinton in bed with a dead boy or a dead woman and a smoking gun over a body, and it wouldn't get any play. If the media doesn't report on this stuff, then to a lot of people, it didn't happen. It's up to Trump to bring all of this to light tonight. He's got an hour and a half to do it. He's got to do it.
He's got to do it. And then it forces the mainstream media to go into their fact check mode. Go right the fuck ahead. Go ahead. You can disprove it with all your bullshit all you want. You're still putting it on the front page of your publication. So that's great. And I think Trump knows how to do this. He's a fucking master. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, I don't see him dropping the ball unless he's just really having an off night. But I just don't see him dropping the ball tonight at all. I think he's going to be ready for whatever comes thrown at him.
He can't have an off night.
I agree. Agreed.
Yeah, well, to most people, I mean, this footage comes out and they're like, oh my gosh, the other side is paying protesters and agitators and actors and psychos.
Oh my God.
What? And to us, like, we know that this has always gone on, but see, this is a good step in the right direction, letting normies out there know how dirty leftists really are.
I worked in the 2010 Rand Paul campaign and exposed one of the provocateurs the Democratic Party set up to go in and racially provocateur, and he did this on purpose. I knew who the guy was because I went to university with him, and he was the local Democratic head of the area of Kentucky that I was in at the time. And what happened at that time in the Rand Paul campaign was that it actually boosted him about 8 points ahead of the guy he was running against back in 2010. So if that kind of stuff gets out, it really can, decide an election. I think more so even than the pseudo scandals that they've hyped up against Trump. I don't think those are having much effect. Certainly not as much as they would have liked.
Not at all.
Yeah, and so I think tonight is going to be crucial. As long as these dumps with WikiLeaks keep coming out, there's just no way that Hillary could come back from this. I think it's another case of, like Trump said, Brexit, where the media gives the appearance, right? We know from the emails that there's been this long time coordination between the Hillary campaign, the DNC, and the mainstream media. Who didn't know that? That's obvious, right? Right. But as long as there's that blackout, I don't think it really matters if it's another situation like Brexit.
Look at the Ecuadorian embassy also, though. They actually cut the internet connection to Julian Assange because of this, right? They argue that, well, this is too much influence over the elections and all this kind of stuff. It's like, oh, so truth is now too much of an influence over an election? Yeah. It's amazing. They said... Yeah, go ahead.
You know what I think, honestly? Okay, so the whole pussy comment would have absolutely crushed a lesser candidate, and the fact that Trump, honestly, people are starting to talk about getting T-shirts of it made, and it's become a joke. It has done really, if anything, like I said, as maybe uncouth and maybe unpresidential or whatever as you want to call it, he's gotten mileage out of it, and I don't really think that it made that much of a dent.
Well, and what leftists are Puritans all of a sudden? All of a sudden they care about this stuff? Are they Christians now?
Weren't they doing slut walks last week?
Yeah, they love degenerate behavior.
That got brought up.
God, they teach kids how to use dildos in preschool now. So come on.
But they found religion when Trump said a bad word. But that's my big issue, though. I just don't want any Republican to ever say a bad word. That's what I base my votes on. But think about what's at stake here, folks. This is the last chance. This is the last chance to affect the country through the existing mechanisms. Certainly, if Trump loses, that's it for the America as we know it. And I know people have said that every year going back through our grandparents' lifetime, that this is the most important election. But this is it. You will not be able, and it's a very simple. You're not going to have someone who represents this perfect storm. Trump is not just a once in a lifetime. He's a once in a civilization type of candidate. He's a guy with universal name recognition through his celebrity that was built up before he announced his candidacy. He has, as a billionaire, could buy his way into the process, basically self-fund his campaign, and he speaks our language. So those three things you will never see again. There's not enough time before we are swamped demographically for another candidate like Trump to present himself. It's not happened through the history of the republic. It's not going to happen again. It's now or never. And so this is what's at stake, but it's been so entertaining, you almost lose sight of the severity of it all. But we've all been part of it, and it's been a wild ride, and it's coming to an end in a few days.
It's the 4 Supreme Court vacancies. It comes right down to that. If you put 4 liberals in there, you have lost America for 100 years. Yeah,
exactly right.
You're done. I think it's over at that point. We're going to have succession.
You're so right. And in 100 years, of course, this country will be a third world nation because of the demographic shift. So it would be one thing just to have liberals in there for 100 years, but in 100 years, we don't exist. We don't even exist in 30, 40 years.
Right.
Well, so we return to the politics of the gangs of men, and all those feminists are fucking done. We're going to eat them first. So that's the upside.
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
No. When we go into the Mad Max world, if you saw the new Mad Max, Charlize Theron showed that the women are going to do fine.
Right. Only in Hollywood does that.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they're the ones who were like upset with, as you said, Trump as well. Beyonce was a wonderful role model for Michelle Obama, right? And the degeneracy on stage, including what's the other one? I always forget her name. Miley Cyrus.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, she was offering up actually like free feels on her on the front and back side, and she's somehow like this role model.
Well, today Madonna offered free blowjobs.
Yeah, I saw that.
So
It's disgusting.
I'll
Don't you
pass.
feel like her
there's a
breath
little
would
bit of
smell like
hypocrisy here.
Isn't she like 80?
Yeah, it's like her breath smells like lube and Metamucil or something.
I don't even.
Gross.
Yeah, no.
Well, the thing I see about the people who hate Trump, it's always ad hominem. It's always about his character. But look at his policies. I mean, these are things like his 5-point thing about the lobbyist.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that wouldn't like that. You know, certain people in this country who like to fundraise for their special countries, that's like assassination talk right there. Forget about locker room talk. That's the kind of stuff that they'll pop your head off for that. And the things he said, I mean, no one says, I don't like security. I don't like getting rid of ISIS. I don't like his bad words. I'm like, are you crazy? This woman, Hillary, is funded armed Al-Qaeda, not knowing her. Right. No, who cares if she knew her? I think she knew her. I think we all know. This woman's out of her mind. Like, and another one I hear is, she has more experience. Yeah, being a criminal for sure.
Exactly.
30 years in the
That's
government.
when I hear
She has
people say stuff like
experience being corrupt.
When people say, like, they make it sound like when you're a career politician as if that's a good thing. I'm always like, that is not something to be proud of.
Yeah, well, what was the line? He needs to be more presidential. Well, look at where all the presidents have gotten us, right? Yeah, we don't need that.
So I went ahead and wrote in my vote for Hillary, and I'm just wondering how can I redeem the Madonna promise? Does anybody know how to go about that? Do you go to a polling station somewhere and prove it, or how do you? I got a receipt.
But Madonna and Miley Cyrus. Miley Cyrus goes out virtually naked, wearing a 12-inch dildo on stage, and yet she's outraged by Trump saying a bad word. But I would like to ask my fellow panelists this, if I may, before the debate starts. So this is the third debate. Out of the 4 moderators, I don't know how much this has been discussed, but you had a black Democrat, a homosexual Democrat, a female Democrat, and now a Jewish Democrat
Great line.
as your moderator. So how do we think Chris Wallace, of course, Wallace would throw you off, but he was, of course, born to 2 Jewish parents and is a religious Jew as well. How do we expect him, just because he's from Fox News doesn't mean he's going to be on Trump's side, obviously. What do we expect?
Fair and unbalanced, my friend.
You're right. Do we expect anything more or less tonight than we've seen in...
What's his real name? Like Wallenstein?
I didn't find his real name.
They always change their name, like Leibowitz. Remember, he's got a nice name there.
I think his name was Walik. Actually, his father was Walik or something like that, which I guess is Jewish. But I think Chris Wallace, he's got a long reputation that he has to defend in some way. But he also has a great deal of pressure riding on this. And as we've all seen, Fox News become almost indistinguishable from CNN in the last couple of weeks. I would not be surprised if Chris Wallace doesn't go full force against Trump in the way that we've seen other moderators do. And he's willing to put his reputation on the line for that because they look at this as signaling. So that's what I think.
Yeah. I mean, it's his career.
Guys, let me jump in here a little bit for a second. I wanted to, before the debate should start here in about 2.5 minutes, let's just look at a funny clip because it has to do with Hillary supporters that were asked about some of Trump's policies, and this is kind of the intelligence level that we have today. So take a look at this.
What did you think when Hillary Clinton said, "I see improved relations with Russia from a position of strength only as possible"?
I agree with Hillary.
Hillary Clinton said, "Immigration is a privilege and we should not let anyone into this country who doesn't support our communities, all of our communities."
Well, I'd virtually have to agree with that.
Hillary said, "In order to achieve the American dream, let people keep more money in their pockets and increase after-tax wages."
Yes, okay.
Like she'd ever say that.
It's in order that's a great idea so that we can start to move everybody up and start moving people out of the level of poverty.
And obviously runs fairly severe contrast to what Donald Trump is proposing.
Absolutely. Many of her comments run severe contrast to Donald Trump.
Hillary Clinton said, "I like the concept of local education. I want to get rid of Common Core. I think Common Core is a disaster."
Well, I'm an educator.
I'm a school teacher. I think Common Core is a disaster too.
We went out in the street and found people who claimed to support Hillary Clinton for president and asked those people about her tax plan. But what they didn't know is the tax plan we presented them with is not Hillary Clinton's, it's Donald Trump's.
Would you support Hillary Clinton's plan to cut the corporate tax rate from 35% to 15%?
I think that's a good idea.
Do you support Hillary's plan to eliminate the estate tax?
Yes, I do support that.
Do you support her plan to eliminate taxes for those who make less than $25,000 a year?
I would support that, yes.
Do you support her plan to eliminate the alternative minimum tax?
Alternative minimum tax. Yeah, I support that.
Do you support her plan to eliminate the estate tax?
Yes.
And what would you say if I told you those are all Donald Trump's proposals?
I would say he's a pretty smart man.
I feel stupid.
I would say that that's shocking. But I mean, if it is, I'm still not voting for Donald Trump. He's a caricature.
What would you say if I told you those are all Donald Trump's policies?
I wouldn't believe you.
They are.
Well, I support Donald Trump then.
What would you say if I told you those are all Donald Trump's policies?
Oh, God. I hate him.
Hey guys,
Oh,
so
man.
this is a real
Oh, wait, that one is good.
announcement.
Let's
I know
move
that a
on.
lot of you probably aren't aware of this, but Hillary Clinton has a vagina, and you should vote for her because of that.
That's pretty much what it comes down
Yeah.
to. When they ask
Yeah.
people on the street, it's like, because she's a woman and it's time we have a woman. That's the only thing that they can say.
They don't know.
So transphobic, though. Not all women have vaginas.
That is true. Exactly.
You can only play that card when it serves your interest.
Yeah, isn't it a little gender specific to say that it's time for a woman, in the White House?
Yeah, of course. Of course it is.
All right.
How much easier would life be if we just repealed the 19th? I swear
Yes,
to God.
I'm so glad you said that because that was on my notes to bring up. If we could just get rid of that, it wouldn't even matter. I mean, if Trump would have won, and they've run the numbers on this, it'd be like a 45, 46 state sweep for Trump. And with all due respect to Janet and Lana, who I'm sure are going to use their votes to counteract two radical feminists, it just didn't work out. It just didn't work out.
All right.
Well, yeah, we can repeal the 19th and then repeal the 22nd right after it.
So it looks like the stream is starting up here, so we can kind of be on hold until this starts up here. But as I said, I just wanted to show you guys. So we have a score card here, right? So we're actually going to hear a couple of different things here. So we have if
We
Trump,
better get them right.
Yeah, oh, well, exactly. Yeah. If Trump scores, you'll hear this, and so if Hillary scores, you'll hear this. Kind of similar, but whatever. You see we can keep track down there on things here. But I guess let's just see if they are starting here. So let's bring up some volume here.
The release
there
of
we
a
are.
2005 video where he's heard using lewd language.
Oh
Oh
my
my
God. We don't have to listen to that. That's just garbage. Okay, let's talk over that a little bit. Well, do you guys, speaking of the Hillary supporters there, right? The Hillary supporters, that's how dumb they are. They just know this caricature monster that the media has built up. They actually know nothing about his policies whatsoever.
Well, and the Mark Dice-esque video that you just showed proves that. And of course, we didn't need any further evidence to prove how ignorant the American electorate is. But this whole stuff, Trump's bad language, I mean, who doesn't use language like that in privacy? I don't know anyone who doesn't. But all of that to take the focus off the issues. That, of course, that's all it's about, to take focus off the issues.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Yeah, it's about just derailing it and presenting this image of him. I wonder why they seem to have gone for the women issue. That's one thing they've hammered over and over and over again. He's rude to women. He hates women. He's sexist. I mean, they tried with racist and Nazi and bigot and hater and all these kinds of things, but it seems that they were sticking to the issue of
Honestly,
women.
Henrik, to me, everything they're doing is just the sign of a desperate, failing attempt, and they know it. So they're just literally going anything they can sink their claws into at all. I think it's just a scramble. It's a last minute scramble because I truly think it's Trump's. I think it's Trump's election to lose.
That's the point you're making, is that if Hillary really had it on cruise control, why throw the kitchen sink at Trump at this point?
Yeah.
It's very suspicious.
Yep.
This is a dangerous strategy for them to play, because if they can actually convince their own electorate that Hillary's got this tied up, they could see a whole bunch of them just sit at home on their fat asses, because that's what lefties do, right?
Yep.
It's always someone else's problem to solve. So this is dangerous for them to play this. Hillary's got it in the bag. Oh, great. I don't have to go vote then. Fuck that.
That's why I don't
Thank
believe the
you.
polls, you know.
Perfect.
I don't believe the polls, even if Trump's winning, because I feel like they demoralize you. If Trump's losing, we're done, you know. But I think we have to all go vote, no matter what the polls say, because I think I don't believe any poll. Even Trump said in his last little rally, I don't believe I'm ahead. I still don't believe the polls. I'm like, yeah, I don't blame you. I mean, it's total nonsense. There's so much collusion.
6 seconds.
Yeah, let's see here.
Jay, you wanted to say something?
If you was to ask them brothers and sisters on the street if they support Hillary's foreign policy on Melmac, they would say yes.
I didn't know you were so good at voices.
You're
there,
very
Jay.
good, Jay.
I was gonna say, I was gonna do Woody Allen. He should be the new moderator since we need
Can't stand that guy.
the next level.
What is it? Nervous.
Has designed the format. 6 roughly 15-minute segments with 2-minute answers.
They just put so much makeup on these people. God, it's like
Because
caked
they're
on
dead
there.
inside.
Well,
So do you guys
like
do you guys think we're gonna have the same kind of like the panel plus Hillary against Trump today, or the moderators plus Hillary?
Well, that's the question I was asking earlier. I don't see how you could realistically expect anything less.
Right.
But on the flip side, Wallace couldn't possibly be worse than we've already seen.
Candidates have to say. No noise except right now, as we welcome the Democratic nominee for president, Secretary Clinton, and the Republican nominee for president, Mr. Trump.
President.
Yeah.
Those, like,
She's got those beady rat
the
eyes.
flabby kind of.
Oh, she's wearing white. Look at
Oh.
this.
Coming out, she's got her Blofeld outfit. She's
Yeah.
Blofeld again.
She's
No
innocent
handshake.
and virginal. This is
No
purity. The
handshake.
blood's going to
Secretary
leave us.
Clinton, Mr. Trump, welcome. Let's get right to it. The first topic is the Supreme Court. You both talked briefly about the court in the last debate, but I want to drill down on this because the next president will almost certainly have at least one appointment and likely or possibly 2 or 3 appointments, which means that you will, in effect, determine the balance of the court for what could be the next quarter century. First of all, where do you want to see the court take the country? And secondly, what's your view on how the Constitution should be interpreted? Do the founders' words mean what they say, or is it a living document to be applied flexibly according to changing circumstances? In this segment,
Wallace
Secretary
is a bit
Clinton, you go
nervous.
first, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you very much, Chris, and
Good.
thanks to UNLV for hosting us. You know, I think when we talk about the Supreme Court, it really raises the central issue in this election. Namely, what kind of country are we going to be? What kind of opportunities will we provide for our citizens? What kind of rights will Americans have? And I feel strongly that the Supreme Court needs to stand on the side of the American people, not on the side of the powerful corporations and the wealthy. For me,
Yeah, like
that
Hillary.
means
She
that we
takes
need a
tons of money
Supreme
from
Court
corporations
that
and
will
wealthy.
Getting
stand
more money
up
from Wall Street
on
than
behalf
the other
of
candidates.
women's rights, on behalf of
HSBC
the rights
sending the
of the
Clinton
LGBT
Foundation $1
community,
billion.
that will stand
Yep.
up and say no to Citizens United, a decision that has undermined the
fined $1 billion, excuse me.
election system in our country because of the way it permits dark, unaccountable money to come into our electoral system. I
Yeah,
have
like you
major
taking bribes,
disagreements
Hillary?
with my opponent about these
Dark
issues
money, that's
and
racist.
others that will be before the Supreme Court.
That's right.
But I feel that at this point in our country's history, it is important that we not reverse marriage equality, that we not reverse Roe v. Wade, that we stand
No
up
one's talking
against
about
Citizens
abortion.
United, we stand
Yay.
up for the
Who cares
rights
about
of
that
people
right now?
Yeah.
in the
Who cares?
workplace,
She's
that we
the only
stand
one
up
talking
and
about it.
basically
But
say
again, she's playing
the
that.
Supreme
She's
Court
sticking
should
with the
represent
whole
all
woman
of us.
thing that Henrik was
That's
talking
how
about earlier.
I see the court, and the kind of people that I would be looking to nominate to the court would be in the great tradition of standing up to the
Leftists.
powerful, standing up on behalf of our
Marxists.
rights as Americans. And I look forward to having that opportunity. I would hope that the Senate would do its job and confirm the nominee that President Obama has sent to them. That's the way the Constitution fundamentally should operate.
She cares
the
about the
president
Constitution.
nominates,
Don't ever
and then the
forget that.
Senate
Right.
advises and consents or not, but they go forward with the process.
Secretary Clinton, thank you. Mr. Trump, same question. Where do you want to see the court take the country, and how do you believe
She's
the
nervous.
Constitution
She's really
should be
nervous.
interpreted?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, it's great to be with you, and thank you, everybody. The
But
Supreme
she's
Court,
lying.
it's what it's all about. Our country is
She's a sociopath, though.
just
Yeah,
so
she doesn't have
important.
feelings.
We have the right justice.
Or conscience.
Something happened recently
She is a
where
sociopath.
Justice Ginsburg made some very, very inappropriate statements toward me and toward a tremendous number of people, many, many millions of people that I represent. And she was forced to apologize, and apologize she did. But these were statements that should never, ever have been made. We need a Supreme Court that, in my opinion, is going to uphold.
Ginsburg was going to go to New Zealand if Trump got in. Why
Great.
not like South America or
Yeah,
Africa?
exactly. Why a white country?
Did you know that Hillary's Twitter refers to her as a hair icon? Do you agree? Is a hair icon? I'm not joking, by the way.
Really?
Which will be a very, very small replica of what it is right now. But I feel that it's absolutely important that we uphold.
She's a
because
hair
of the
icon
fact
for like
that
a
it is under
mortician.
such,
I mean,
trauma. I feel that the justices that I am going to appoint.
She looks like some kind of New Age cult
20
leader.
of them.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah, that's
I'm going to appoint will be pro-life.
Yeah, the
They
process
will have a
church.
conservative
Yeah.
bent.
Marshall
They
Applewhite.
will be
Applegate,
protecting
right?
the
What's his
Second
name?
Amendment.
Yeah, Evans
They are
Gate,
great
yeah,
scholars
Applewhite,
in all
yeah.
cases.
Just do it.
And they're people of
Yeah.
tremendous respect. They will interpret the Constitution the way the founders wanted it interpreted. And I believe that's very, very important. I don't think we should have justices appointed that decide what they want to hear. It's all about the Constitution and so important, the Constitution the way it was meant to be. And those are the people that I will appoint.
Mr. Trump, thank you. We now have about 10 minutes for an open discussion. I want to focus on two issues that, in fact, by the justices that you name, could end up changing
So it would have been
the
nerve in the
existing
beginning,
law
like, where
of
is
the
this
land.
going?
First,
When those
is
two
one
gloves
that you
come off,
mentioned,
yeah.
Mr. Trump,
Warming
and that
up.
is guns. Secretary Clinton, you said last year, and let me quote, the Supreme Court is wrong on the Second Amendment. And now, in fact, in the 2008 Heller case, the court ruled that there is a constitutional right to bear arms, but a right that is reasonably limited. Those were the words of the judge, Antonin Scalia, who wrote the decision. What's wrong with that?
Well, first of all, I support the Second Amendment. I lived in Arkansas for 18 wonderful years. I represented upstate New York. I understand and respect the tradition of gun ownership. It goes back to the founding of our country. I also believe that there can be and must be reasonable regulation. Because I support the Second Amendment doesn't mean that I want people who shouldn't have guns to be able to threaten you, kill you or members of your family. And so when I think about what we need to do, we have 33,000 people a year who die from guns.
Once for
I
each
think we need
email, she deleted
comprehensive
them. Huh?
background checks. We need to close the online loophole, close the gun show loophole. There's other matters that I think are sensible, that are the
How many
kind of
people die in
reforms that
cars
would make a
again?
difference, that are not in any way
Was that-
conflicting
what'd you say?
with the Second Amendment. You
How many
mentioned
die
the
in
Heller
cars?
decision, and what I
Yeah,
was saying.
astronomically
guns.
more.
How many
Yeah.
died indirectly
Yeah.
or directly from
Disagreed
her
with
and
the
her
way the
family?
court applied
Yep.
the Second
And they don't
Amendment in
restructure
that
society
case,
because of that.
Because
Yeah, no doubt,
what the
right.
District of Columbia was trying to do was to protect toddlers from guns. And so they wanted people with guns to safely store them. And the court didn't accept that reasonable regulation, but they've accepted many others. So
How
I
many
see no
toddlers
conflict
die from
between
guns every year?
saving
Yeah, and the,
people's
and the
lives
criminals will always
and
lock their gun away in a
defending
responsible way, clearly.
How many,
bipartisan
honestly, how many
open
toddler deaths are
debate
there?
coalition.
And I'm not trying to
billions of
diminish
votes on
that,
questions
but I
to
mean,
ask here, and this was,
Yeah.
in fact, one of the top questions that they got. How will you ensure the Second Amendment is protected? You just heard Secretary Clinton's answer. Does she persuade you that while you may disagree on regulation, that in fact she supports a Second Amendment right to bear arms?
Well, the D.C. versus Heller decision was very strongly, and she was extremely angry about it. I watched. I mean, she was very, very angry when upheld. And Justice Scalia was so involved, and it was a well-crafted decision. But Hillary was extremely upset, extremely angry, and people that believe in the Second Amendment and believe in it very strongly were very upset with what she had to say.
Well, let me bring in Secretary Clinton. Were you extremely upset?
Well, I was upset because, unfortunately, dozens of toddlers injure themselves, even kill people with guns.
Really?
Because,
Toddlers kill people
unfortunately,
now
not
with guns?
everyone who
How about all the illegal
has
immigrants
guns
coming
in
in?
their homes takes appropriate precautions. But there's no doubt that I respect the Second Amendment, that I also believe there's an individual right to bear arms.
Respects the Second
That
Amendment.
is
Can
not
she
in
lose a point
conflict
on our
with
scoreboard
sensible,
for every bald-faced
common
lie?
sense regulation. And, you know, look, I understand that Donald's been
I tried to
strongly
delete the
supported
Second
by the
Amendment.
NRA. Donald is on his side. They're running millions of dollars of ads against me. And I regret that, because what I would like to see is for people to come together and say, of course, we're going to protect and defend the Second Amendment, but we're going to do it in a way that tries to save some of these 33,000 lives that we lose every year.
33,000
Mr.
again.
Trump back into that because
33,000 toddler.
It's called culling the herd. You're messing with the genetic
With
makeup.
nature, exactly. Yeah.
Cull the herd.
Why, sir?
Well, let me just tell you before we go any further, in Chicago, which has the toughest gun laws in the United States, probably you could say by far, they have more gun violence than any other city.
And black on
so
black
we
violence.
have the toughest laws,
Yeah,
and you have
out of
tremendous
control.
gun violence.
I think that's a point. That's
I
gotta
am
be a
a
point
very
right there.
strong
Is it a point?
supporter of the
Yeah.
Second Amendment, and I am.
That's
I don't
a
know
well
if
done,
Hillary
well
was saying
to go,
it
Trump
in
there.
a
One for
sarcastic
you.
manner, but I'm very proud to have the endorsement of the NRA, and it's the earliest endorsement they've ever given to anybody who ran for president. So I'm very honored by all of that. We are going to appoint justices. This is the best way to help the Second Amendment. We are going to appoint justices that will feel very strongly about the Second Amendment, that will not do damage to the Second Amendment.
Well, let's pick up on another issue
She has
which
fear in
divides
her
you
eyes.
and the justices that
She does.
whoever ends up winning this election appoints could have a dramatic effect there, and that's the issue of abortion.
Right.
Mr. Trump, you're pro-life, but I want to ask you specifically, do you want the court, including the justices that you will name, to overturn Roe v. Wade, which includes, in fact, states a woman's right to abortion?
Well, if that would happen, because I am pro-life and I will be appointing pro-life judges, I
Hillary's
would
looking a
think
bit
that
tired
will
there.
go back to the individual states.
But I'm asking you specifically.
Good
would you
answer.
If
like
they
this-
overturned it, it'll go back to the states.
But what I'm asking you, sir, is do you want to see the court overturn? You just said you want to see the court protect the Second Amendment.
on this
Do you want to see the
abortion
court
trail right now,
overturn
geez.
Roe
Well,
v.
if
Wade?
we put another 2 or perhaps 3 justices on, that's really what's going to be, will happen. And that'll happen automatically, in my
They're trying to
opinion,
paint
because I
that
am
whole
putting
picture
pro-life
of being
justices
pro-gun,
on the court.
but
I will say this,
you know,
it will go back to the
pro-abortion at
states,
the same
and
time,
the states will
canceling
then make
each
a
other out.
determination.
Secretary Clinton.
Well, I strongly support Roe v. Wade, which guarantees
Yeah, she had a few
constitutional
abortions
right to
herself.
I
Yeah,
thought she was.
right, yeah.
I thought she was
Most
against the
intimate,
toddler
most-
Holocaust.
I thought I read that too. I think you're right.
Only if you abort with a
And in
gun.
this case, it's not
33,000,
only about
never
Roe v.
forget.
Wade. It is about what's happening right now in America. So many states are putting very stringent regulations on women that block them from exercising that choice, to the extent that they are defunding Planned Parenthood, which of course provides all kinds of cancer screenings and other benefits for women in our country. Donald has said he's in favor of defunding Planned Parenthood. He even supported shutting the government down to defund Planned Parenthood. I will defend Planned Parenthood. I will defend Roe v. Wade, and I will defend women's rights to make their own health care decisions.
Secretary
And we have come too far to have that turn back now. And indeed, he said women should be punished, that there should be some form of punishment for women who obtain
they break
abortions.
the
And I
law.
could just not be more
Yes.
opposed to
Yeah.
that kind of thinking.
Say
I'm going to give you a chance to
I don't know
respond.
if
But I
they
want to
use
ask
the
you,
word
Secretary
punish.
Clinton, I
No.
want to explore how far you believe the right to abortion goes. You have been quoted as saying that the fetus
Way
has
to
no
ignore the
constitutional
WikiLeaks emails
rights.
here.
Well,
huh?
they'll get to it.
Also
Trump will bring it
voted
up.
against a ban on late-term partial birth abortions. Why?
Because Roe v. Wade very clearly sets out that
These legal little intricacies of, like, you know, abortion paragraphs.
as the life
Like,
and
who
the
cares?
health
Let's
of
talk
the
about
mother
immigration.
are taken into account. And when I voted
Because
as a senator,
if you make abortion illegal, of course, most of the aborted babies are in fact black and brown. And do we really want another 100 million black kids?
And that defeats the
Good
larger
point.
narrative.
I have met
Yep.
with women who had
Well, I
toward the
think
end
both
of their pregnancy get the worst
blacks
news
and
one could get,
browns
that their
abort a higher
health is in
percentage, but I
jeopardy
think
if they
still with us being the
continue
majority of
to
the
carry to
population,
term,
technically,
or that something
numerically, the
terrible has
majority
happened or
of
just been
those supported are
discovered
white.
about
But
the
this
pregnancy.
issue is the
I
biggest
do
for
not think the
Christians and
United
for
States
all of these
government should
apostate
be
cut
stepping
Christian
in and
leaders.
making
This should
those
completely
most
disqualify Hillary
personal
Clinton, but yet you
decisions.
still have people like
So
Russell
you
Moore
can regulate,
condemning Trump
but
and
you are
Christians who
doing
vote for
so
Trump. It's
with the
disgusting.
life and the health
Yeah,
of the
good point.
mother taken into account.
Mr. Trump, your reaction, and particularly on this issue of late-term partial birth
Well,
abortion.
I think it's terrible. If you go with what Hillary is saying, in the 9th month, you can take the baby and rip
Yeah,
the
it's
baby
twisted.
out of
Ugh,
the womb
messed
of the
up.
mother
Yeah,
Yeah.
fuck.
just
Yep.
prior to the birth
So messed
of the
up.
baby. Now, you can say that that's okay.
What kind of woman
And
would do
Hillary
that?
can say
Hillary.
that that's
Yeah.
okay, but it's
Right.
not okay with me. Because based on what she's saying and based on where she's going and where she's been, you can take the baby and rip the baby out of the womb.
It's a toddler
in
at
the
that
9th
point.
month.
Yeah.
On the final
He
day.
just-
A toddler with a
And
gun
that's
at
not
that
acceptable.
point.
He's owning it as a
Not what
baby.
happens
In
in
order
those
for people to
cases, and
quote, they
using
can't
that
use fetus, they use
kind of,
baby. I call that a point for
scare
Trump.
rhetoric is
Yeah.
just terribly unfortunate. You should meet with some of the
Oh,
women
didn't hear
that
my
I've
ding
met
there,
with,
but it's-
women I've known over the course of my life. This is one of the worst possible choices that any woman and her family has to make. And I do not believe the government should be making it. You know, I've had the great honor of traveling across the world on behalf of our country. I've been to countries where governments either forced women to have abortions like they used to do in China, or forced women to bear children like they used to do in Romania. And I can tell you the government has no business in the decisions that women make with their families in accordance with their faith, with medical advice. And
Yeah,
I will
Henrik, you
stand
called
up
it.
for
They
that
are
right.
really playing up the
Just
vulnerable
briefly, I wanna
woman
move on to
angle.
the
Honestly,
Yeah.
nobody has business.
Because
doing
honestly,
what I just
has
said,
abortion even
doing
been on the
that
table for like
as
the last
late as
month?
No,
No,
I
not
don't think so.
or 4 days
No.
prior to birth. Nobody has that.
All right, let's move on to the subject of immigration.
Yay.
She's only
there is
worried
almost
about
no
it in
issue that
Immigration.
separates
non-white
the two
countries.
of you
Yeah.
more than the issue of immigration. Actually, there are a lot of issues that separate the two of you. Mr. Trump, you want to build a wall. Secretary Clinton, you have offered no specific plan
She's
for
high
how
as a
you want to
kite.
secure our southern border. Mr. Trump, you are calling for major deportations. Secretary Clinton, you say that within your first 100 days as president, you're going to offer a package that includes a pathway to citizenship. The question really is, why are you right and your opponent wrong? Mr. Trump, you go first in this segment. You have 2 minutes.
Well, first of all, she wants to give amnesty, which is a disaster and very unfair to all of the people that are waiting in line for many, many years. We need strong borders. In the audience tonight, we have 4 mothers of, I mean, these are unbelievable people that I've gotten to know over a period of years whose children have been killed, brutally killed by people that came into the country illegally. You have thousands of mothers and fathers and relatives all over the country. They're coming in illegally. Drugs are pouring in through the border. We have no country if we have no border. Hillary wants to give amnesty. She wants to have open borders. The border secure, as you know, the Border Patrol agents, 16,500 plus ICE last week endorsed me. First time they've ever endorsed a candidate. It means their job is tougher, but they know what's going on. They know it better than anybody. They want strong borders. They feel we have to have strong borders. I was up in New Hampshire the other day. The biggest complaint they have, it's with all of the problems going on in the world, many of the problems caused by Hillary Clinton and by Barack Obama, all of the problems, the single biggest problem is heroin that pours across our southern borders, just pouring and destroying their youth. It's poisoning the blood of their youth and plenty of other people. We have to have strong borders. We have to keep the drugs out of our country. Right now, we're getting the drugs, they're getting the cash. We need strong borders. We need we cannot give amnesty. Now, I want to build the wall. We need the wall. The Border Patrol, ICE, they all want the wall. We stop the drugs. We shore up the border. One of my first acts will be to get all of the drug lords, all of the bad ones. We have some bad, bad people in this country that have to go out. We're going to get them out. We're going to secure the border. And once the border is secured, at a later date, we'll make a determination as to the rest. But we have some bad hombres here, and we're going to get them out.
Hombre.
Point to Trump for that.
Basically,
maybe he'll build a wall around Mena,
Well,
Arkansas.
as he was talking, I was thinking.
Yeah, I was just going to say, were they shipping in all the drugs? Exactly. In the 90s, that's what the Clintons were doing.
Very worried that her parents might be deported because she was born in this country, but they were not. They work hard. They
Well, anchor babies, that doesn't, then
They
you
can all
have to
go to
go back to their
Mexico.
country.
You're all go to Mexico.
Yeah.
Rip families apart. I don't want to be sending parents.
No one is ripping these families apart. No one is ripping them apart. They choose to go to America.
But the fact were, it's like they were here illegally to begin with. It's like, sorry you had your kid here, but
That's right.
Yeah.
If they had respected our laws, if they had respected our laws,
exactly.
they would never be in that position. But people like her always try to pull on the heartstrings.
Yep. It's like, yeah, it's too bad, but you know what? They fucking broke the law, so apply them
Why don't they?
evenly.
Why don't they stay in their country and make their country great again?
Yeah, what's wrong with them? If they're equal, why can't they do it?
Right.
Enforcement officers would be going school to school, home to home, business to business, rounding up people
Yay, do
who
we
are
have a
undocumented.
cheering track here?
Like Israel does.
exactly. Yeah, it's true.
Israel
Yeah.
does.
Trains on buses to get them out of the
Let's do it.
I think that is
Round them up.
an idea that is not in keeping with who we are as a nation. I think it's an idea that
Says
would
who?
rip our country apart.
Just let everyone in. That will solve it.
For years,
Yeah,
I
exactly.
voted
Well,
for border
I just don't
security
understand.
in
It's
the
like,
United States Senate.
where is
and
the
my
disconnect
comprehensive
when
immigration
people, when
reform
all they're
plan,
saying
of
is
course, includes
want
border
to
security.
deport people
But
who
I
are
want to
here
put our
illegally?
resources
It's like,
where I think they're most needed.
how does that
Getting
not just
rid
make
of
perfect sense?
Any violent person, anybody who should be deported, we should deport them. When it comes to the wall that Donald talks about building, he went to Mexico.
That means Hillary
he had
should
a
be
meeting with the
deported for her
Mexican
violence
president.
in
Didn't even
foreign
raise it. He chose
That's
it.
right.
And then got into
totally
a Twitter
for that.
war
Point for
because
Jay.
the Mexican president said, we're not paying for that wall. So I think we are both a nation
we'll
of
stop giving them
immigrants
aid.
and we are a nation of laws, and that we can
AIDS?
act
Yeah.
accordingly. And that's why I'm introducing comprehensive immigration reform within the first 100 days.
Which
with a
means
path to
amnesty.
citizenship.
Open borders.
Yeah. What does that mean exactly?
Right.
She's never enjoyed the diversity that she wishes upon us.
First of all, I had a very good meeting with the president of Mexico. Very nice man. We will be doing very much better with Mexico on trade deals, believe me. The NAFTA deal signed by her husband is one of the worst deals ever made of any kind, signed by anybody. It's a disaster. Hillary
Is that
Clinton
point for Trump or
wanted
what?
the wall. Hillary Clinton fought for the wall in 2006 or thereabouts. Now, she never gets anything done, so naturally the wall wasn't built. But Hillary Clinton wanted the wall.
Well, let me.
We are a
wait,
country
sir, let me,
of laws.
Let
We
me, let
either
me
have, and by the way,
no, wait. I'd like to hear from.
but
I don't
I'd
like
to hear
what
from
you're saying, so
I'd like
stop.
to hear from Secretary Clinton.
I voted for border security, and there
Yeah,
are
right.
And the wall.
There are some
a lot of
limited
contracts
places
with
where
China,
that was
and they have a
appropriate. There
wall. Does
also
that
is
count?
necessarily
And
going
Israel
to be
has a
new
wall.
Yeah,
technology
exactly.
and
Israel's
got a
vessels to
badass
deploy
wall.
that. But it is clear when you look at what Donald has been proposing. He started his campaign bashing immigrants, calling Mexican immigrants rapists and criminals and drug dealers, that he has
Straw
a
man.
very different view about
Someone's
what we
doing
should
the raping.
do to deal
Yeah.
with immigrants.
they
Now,
are. I was gonna say, stating
what
facts
I'm
is not
also
bashing.
arguing is that
Hate facts.
bringing undocumented immigrants out from the shadows, putting them into the formal economy will be good, because then employers can't exploit them and undercut Americans' wages. And Donald knows a lot about this. He used undocumented labor to build the Trump Tower. He
There are no
underpaid
jobs.
undocumented workers, and when they complained, he basically said what a lot of employers do: you complain, I'll get you deported. I want to get everybody out of the shadows, get the economy working, and not let employers like Donald exploit undocumented workers, which hurts
He
them, but
fires the
also hurts
employees. She
American
has anyone that detracts against her
President
murder.
Obama has moved millions of people out. Nobody knows about it. Nobody talks about it. But under Obama, millions of people have been moved out of this country. They've been deported. She doesn't want to say that, but that's what's happened.
Really?
And that's what's happened big league. As far as moving these people out and moving, we either have a country or we don't. We're a country of laws. We either have a border or we don't. Now, you can come back in and you can become a citizen, but it's very unfair. We have millions of people that did it the right way. They're online, they're waiting. We're going to speed up the process, big league, because it's very inefficient. but they're online and they're waiting to become citizens. Very unfair that somebody runs across the border, becomes a citizen. Under her plan, you have open borders. You would have a disaster on trade, and you will have a disaster with your open borders. But what she doesn't say is that President Obama has deported millions and millions of people just the way
Secretary
it is.
Clinton, I want to.
We will not have open borders.
Well, let me
that is
She said it in her
grand
email.
lie.
That's her goal.
Exactly.
Secure borders.
That was
but
leaked.
We will also have reform, and
Bring it
this
up,
used to be a
Don. Bring it up.
bipartisan issue. Ronald Reagan
Bring it
was
up.
the last
Secretary Clinton.
president.
What?
to sign immigration reform, and George W. Bush supported it as well.
Secretary Clinton, I want to clear up your position on this issue because in a speech you gave to a Brazilian bank for which you were paid $225,000, we've learned from
Wallace.
the WikiLeaks
Yeah.
that you said this, and I want to quote, "My dream is a hemispheric common market with
All right.
open trade and
Now we're-
open
now we're getting
borders."
somewhere.
So that's
Thank
the
you.
1
question.
point for Wallace.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the question. Please
Exactly.
quiet, everybody. Is that your dream, open borders?
Thanks
Well,
for
if
Wallace.
you went on to read the rest of the sentence, I was talking about energy. You know, we trade more energy with our neighbors than we
Liar.
trade the rest of the world
Liar.
combined. And I do want us to have an electric grid, an energy system that crosses borders. I think that would be a great benefit to us. But
That is a
you
camera
are
energy
very
full
clearly
of shit.
Somebody wrote that
from
for her.
WikiLeaks. And what's really important about WikiLeaks is that the
WikiLeaks.
Russian government
Russia. There we go.
is
Russia,
engaged
Russia,
in
Russia.
espionage
Always
against
Russia.
Americans. They
knew
have
it.
hacked
Or Russians.
American websites, American accounts of private people, of institutions.
Well, they're
Then
really-
they have given that information
Just
to
made it all legit.
He's reading
for
it
the
from her
purpose of putting it
paper.
on
Yeah,
the
there's some
internet.
notes she's
Yeah.
looking at
Yeah,
there.
she
The
does.
highest levels of the Russian government, clearly.
I
from
know
Putin
about
himself.
this because my team of Clintonistas dismantled Russian economy in the 90s.
Confirmed to influence our election. So I actually
Check.
of this evening, Chris, is finally will Donald Trump admit
She's got
and
nothing.
condemn that the Russians are doing this and make it
Screw
clear
you, Hillary.
that he will
How
not
does he do that?
have the help of Putin in this election, that he rejects Russian espionage against Americans, which he actually encouraged in the past. Those are the questions we need answered. We've never had anything like this happen in any of our elections before.
Look at
That
her,
was a
worked
great
up there.
pivot
God.
off the fact that
Conspiracy
she wants
theorist.
open
She suddenly-
borders. Okay.
Yeah.
How did we get onto Putin?
Oh,
yeah, that's
hold on.
point for Trump there.
Wait, hold on, folks, because this is going to end up getting out of control.
Yeah,
Yes,
good. That's
let's
what we
do it.
want.
Yeah.
Let's
Derail.
lose
Candidates
control
and for the
here.
American people. Go
So
ahead.
just to
Yeah,
finish
because
on the
she'll lose
borders,
her ass.
she wants open borders.
Yeah.
People are going to pour into our country.
Yes.
People are going to come in from Syria. She wants 550% more people than Barack
Look at her
Obama. And
wicked
he has
smile.
thousands and thousands of
Look at her
people that have
crazy
no idea
smile.
where they come from. And you see, we are going to stop radical Islamic terrorism in this country. She won't even mention the words, and neither will President Obama. So I just want to tell
Point
you,
for Trump.
she wants open borders. Now we can talk about Putin. I don't know Putin. He said nice things about me. If we got along well, that would be good.
Yes, it
if
would.
Russia,
Why not? Why not get
States
along
Yeah.
with
well
Russia?
and went after ISIS, that would be good. He has
We got
no
along with
respect
them when they
for
were
her.
legitimate
He has
communists.
no-
Exactly. Yeah, but no,
People.
now they're too
We're in
conservative,
very
right?
serious trouble because we have a country with tremendous numbers of nuclear warheads, 1,800, by the way, where they expanded and we didn't. 1,800 nuclear warheads, and she's playing chicken. Look, Putin,
wait,
from everything I see, has no respect for this person.
Well, that's because he'd rather have a puppet as president.
No
Oh, look at her
Yeah.
trying to
Oh,
take
you're
out
the puppet.
conspiracy talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty clear you won't admit
No, you're
that
the
the
puppet.
Russians have engaged in
Hey.
cyber attacks against the United
That's
States
right.
of America.
Point
That you
for Trump.
encourage espionage
of the
against
bankers.
our people.
Yeah.
That you are willing to spout the Putin line, sign up for
Man,
his
she
wish
would be
list.
fucked
Let's
without
talk about
television.
Israel's
Do whatever he
espionage in
wants
this
to
country,
Yeah,
huh?
And that
exactly.
How about
you
Netanyahu?
continue
She's
to
tipping over into
get
whining.
help from
Like
him
she's sounding like a
because
fucking whiny
he
shrew.
has
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
very clear favorite in this race.
Look at him.
So I think that this is such an unprecedented situation. We've never had a foreign
Look at my
government
notes.
trying to interfere in our elections.
Oh,
We
like
have
China
civilian
giving you
Never
money?
had a
Yeah.
cunt president yet. It's time for
civilian
one.
and military who have all concluded that these espionage attacks, these
Or like
cyber
Israel
attacks come from
influence over America. That's never happened before.
Yeah,
and they are
exactly.
designed to influence our election. I
How
find
dare you
that
talk about
deeply
that.
disturbing,
Secretary
and
Clinton,
I think it's
She
time
has no
you
idea
take a
whether it's
stand,
Russia,
because if
China, or anybody
I am
else.
not
She
quoting
has
myself.
no idea.
I am quoting
Hillary, you have
17,
no idea.
17 intelligence, you doubt 17
has no idea.
Point for Trump.
agencies. Well,
Yeah, I
he'd
doubt
rather
it. I doubt
believe
it.
Vladimir Putin
Yeah, I
than
doubt
the
it.
military and
Ah.
civilian intelligence
Just
professionals
all
She's
who are
so
sworn to
butthurt over
protect
these
us. I
emails.
find
Look at
that
her.
just absolutely
She doesn't
frightening.
like Putin because Putin has outsmarted her at every
Mr.
step
Trump,
of the way.
Yep.
Excuse me. Putin has outsmarted her.
Point for Trump.
In
Mr.
Syria,
Trump, I'm
he's
not
outsmarted her
plant here. I
every
do get
step of the way.
I do get to ask some questions.
Yes,
and
that's
I would
fine.
like to ask you this direct
Trump
question.
says it's fine.
The top national security officials of this country do believe that Russia has been behind these hacks. Even if you don't know for sure whether they are, do you condemn?
And we're supposed to
any
believe
Yeah,
them?
what does it matter? That's the information within them that's not the messenger.
The truth
Anybody else.
matters.
You condemn their interference.
Of course I condemn. Of course I can. I don't know Putin. I have
I'm
no
not asking
idea.
you. I'm asking
I
you, do
never
you
met
condemn?
Putin. This is not my best friend. But if the United States got along with Russia, wouldn't be so bad. Let me tell you, Putin has outsmarted her and Obama at every single step of the way. Whether it's Syria, no, you name it, missiles. Take a look at the startup that they signed. The Russians have said, according to many, many reports, I can't believe they allowed us to do this. They create warheads and we can't. The Russians can't believe it. She has been outsmarted by Putin, and all you have to do is look at the Middle East. They've taken over. We've spent $6 trillion. They've taken over the Middle East. She has been outsmarted and outplayed worse than anybody I've ever seen in any government whatsoever.
We're a long way away
Point
from
for Trump.
immigration, but
That's
I'm going to
right.
let you
Why
finish
ask-
this
Well,
topic.
If you
about
condemn Russian
45
interference when there's no
She
evidence
always
of
will
Russian
be.
interference.
Yeah.
Right.
Ironic that he's
When did you
raising
stop beating your wife? One of those.
weapons.
questions.
Exactly.
He's a person who has been very cavalier, even casual, about the use of nuclear weapons. He's advocated more countries getting them, Japan, Korea, even Saudi Arabia. He's said, well, if we have them, why don't we use them, which I think is terrifying. But here's the deal. The bottom line on nuclear weapons is that when the president gives the order, it must be followed. There's about 4 minutes between the order being given and the...
She's talking about what she's going to do when she gets in here against Russia.
nuclear weapons to
They
do
have
that.
to follow
Nuke them.
orders, you know,
And
when I
that's
give
why
them.
10
Yep.
people who have had that awesome responsibility have come out and in an unprecedented way said they would not trust Donald Trump with the nuclear codes or to have his finger on the nuclear button.
Right.
Play. She's the
I have
warmonger.
200
Can't even
generals
trust you
and
with
admirals.
Yeah,
21
exactly.
endorsing me. 21 Congressional Medal of Honor recipients. As far as Japan and other countries, we are being ripped off by everybody in the world. We're defending other countries. We are spending a fortune doing it. They have the bargain of the century. All I said is we have to renegotiate these agreements because our country cannot afford to defend Saudi Arabia, Japan, Germany, South Korea, and many other places.
Israel.
We
Canada,
cannot continue to afford.
Canada.
She
We don't
took
have
that
any
as
fly
saying
ships left in
nuclear
our
weapons.
Navy. Like none. Zero.
She's been proven to be a liar on so many different ways. This is just another lie.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm just quoting
that's right.
you.
That's point for
when
Trump right there.
you
There's
were
no
asked
quote.
about
You're not gonna find a
potential
quote from me.
nuclear competition in Asia. You said, you know, go ahead, enjoy yourselves, folks. That kind
And
of
defend
language,
yourselves.
that, well,
And
the
defend
United
yourselves. I didn't say
States has
nuclear.
kept
And
the
defend
peace.
yourself.
The United
Like
States
he would
has
say
kept the
that, you know.
peace.
Nuke
through
yourself,
our
have fun,
alliances.
nuke the
I would like
world.
to-
Like he would
Donald
say
wants to
that.
tear up
Say
our
that.
alliances. I think it makes the world
He's grasping
safer, and
at straws.
frankly, it makes the
Yeah.
United States safer. I would work with our allies in Asia, in Europe, in the Middle East, and elsewhere. That's the only way we're going to be able to keep the peace.
We are going to move on to the next topic, which is
She's
the
really
economy,
struggling
and I hope
tonight.
we
Yeah,
have
she
that
is.
as well
Yeah,
as
she's
we
like
did
sweating,
immigration.
you know, stuff.
And that's such a nervous
You also
laugh.
It
Yeah,
is.
look at that.
different
Got
ideas
going
about
on.
how to get the economy
Terrified.
going
This is
faster.
not going good for you, Hillary.
Clinton, in your plan, government plays a big role. You see more government spending, more entitlements, more tax credits, more tax penalties. Mr. Trump, you want to get government out with lower taxes and less regulation.
Yes.
We're going to drill down into this a little bit more, but in this overview, please explain to me why you believe that your plan will create
I
more
just saw the
jobs
scoreboard,
and growth in
13-0.
and your
I know this is like an objective, fair and balanced.
I think we're being kind with that.
Yeah, we are being kind. Yeah.
Plan is
Well, let us know if Hillary gets a point. Anybody?
Yeah.
Give her a point.
You know what? I would be. I tried to be as objective as I could, but I mean, she's got nothing.
No.
She hasn't fallen down yet.
got
Come on.
hair.
She hasn't fallen over. I was going to say, she stood up for 38 minutes.
She's doing pretty good. That's true. Yeah. that is-
Let's give her a point for no seizures through 30 minutes.
Okay, 1 point.
No seizure point.
1 point for being a woman. Yes.
That's
Of
awesome.
the new jobs are going to come from. I want us to raise the national minimum wage because people who live in poverty should not, who work full time should not still be in poverty. And I sure do want to make sure women get equal pay for the work we do. I feel
They already
strongly.
do.
Yes, they
What about
Yeah.
dem programs? Give me
Can
more
you
dem
start with a
programs.
math class, please?
That's why I want more
Yeah.
technical education in high schools and in community colleges, real apprenticeships to prepare young people for the jobs of the future. I want to make college
jobs are those?
debt-free and for families
aren't any
making
jobs.
less than $125,000. You will not get a tuition bill from a public college or university if the plan that I worked on with Bernie Sanders is enacted.
Her buddy
And we're gonna
Bernie,
work
yeah.
hard
right.
to make sure that it is.
Yeah, under
because
Hillary
we are
Clinton, you
going
can get
to
apprenticeships,
give
become a journeyman degenerate.
Yeah, exactly right.
Recession have gone to the very top. So we
She's
are
trying to
gonna
appeal to
have
the Bernie fans here,
wealthy
saying
pay
it's me
their
and
fair
Bernie
share.
together,
We're going to
right?
Free
have
tuition.
corporations, make a contribution greater than they are now to our country.
Students that
That is
get
a plan that has
women's
been
studies
analyzed by
degrees will
independent
work in the
experts who
dildo
said that
factories.
it would produce 10 million new jobs. By contrast, Donald's plan has been analyzed to conclude it might lose 3.5 million jobs. Why? Because his whole plan is to cut taxes, to give the biggest tax breaks ever to the wealthy and to corporations.
That's true. Also
adding
to
$20 trillion
people that make under
to our
50,000
debt
and under 25,000.
causing the kind of dislocation that we have seen before, because it truly will be trickle-down economics on steroids. So the plan I have, I think, will actually produce greater opportunities. The plan he has will cost us jobs and possibly lead to another great recession.
Secretary, thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Trump, why will your plan create more jobs and growth than Secretary Clinton?
Well, first of all, before I start on my plan, her plan is going to raise taxes and even double your taxes. Her tax plan is a disaster. And she can say all she wants about college tuition. And I'm a big proponent. We're going to do a lot of things for college tuition, but the rest of the public's going to be paying for it. We will have a massive, massive tax increase under Hillary Clinton's plan. But I'd like to start off where we left, because when I said Japan and Germany, and I'm not to single them out, but South Korea, these are very rich, powerful countries. Saudi Arabia, nothing but money. We protect Saudi Arabia. Why aren't they paying? She immediately, when she heard this, I questioned it. And I questioned NATO. Why aren't the NATO questioned? Why aren't they paying? Because they weren't paying. Since I did this was a year ago, all of a sudden they're paying. And I've been given a lot of credit for it. All of a sudden they're starting to pay up. They have to pay up.
They should
We're
take
protecting
refugees,
people. They
too.
have to pay
Yeah.
up. And I'm a big fan of NATO, but they have to pay up. She comes out
Well,
and
that's all
said,
the West European countries
we
anyway.
love our allies.
and
We
Americans.
think our allies are great. Well, it's awfully hard to get them to pay up when you have somebody saying, we think how great they are. We have to tell Japan in a very nice way. We have to tell Germany, all of these countries, South Korea. We have to say, you have to help us out. We have, during his regime, during President Obama's regime, we've doubled our national debt. We're up to $20 trillion.
His regime. I love it.
So my plan, we're going to renegotiate trade deals. We're going to have a lot of free trade. We're going to have free trade, more free trade than we have right now. But we have horrible deals. Our jobs are being taken out by the deal that her husband signed, NAFTA, one of the worst deals ever. Our jobs are being sucked out of our economy. You look at all of the
Nationalist
places that I
free
just
trade.
left. You go to Pennsylvania, you go to Ohio, you go to Florida, you go to any of them. You go upstate New York. Our jobs have fled to Mexico and other places. We're bringing our jobs back. I am going to renegotiate NAFTA. And if I can't make a great deal, then we're going to terminate NAFTA and we're going to create new deals. We're going to have trade, but we're going to terminate it. We're going to make a great trade deal. And if we can't, we're going to do it. We're going to go a separate way, because it has been a disaster. We are going to cut taxes massively. We're going to cut business taxes massively. They're going to start hiring people. We're going to bring the $2.5 trillion that's offshore back into the country. We are going to start the engine rolling again because right now
There's that
our
nervous
country
smile
is dying
again.
at 1% GDP.
All right,
Well,
point for
let me
Trump.
translate that if I can, Chris, because
You can't.
the fact is, it's going to,
Another
I
point.
love those little stabs.
tax cuts we've ever seen.
Love
3
it.
times
God.
the tax cuts under the Bush administration. I have said
Because you'd be in jail.
I will
Yeah,
not
exactly.
raise taxes on anyone making $250,000 or less. I also will not add a penny to the debt. I have
Yeah, right.
busted out what I'm going to do. He will,
won't add a
through
penny,
his
she'll add
massive
trillions.
tax cuts.
Yeah, that's right.
No,
That is not a lie, actually. You're right.
Yeah.
We know how to get control
I
of
think
the debt.
this
When
is
my
the
husband
performance
was
Trump
president, we
intended
went
to
from
give on the
$300
first
billion
debate. So he's not
deficit to
being
a $200
more
billion
aggressive than he was in the
deficit. We're
second
actually
debate,
on
but it's
the
sort of the
path
best
to
of both
eliminating
worlds. He's
the
being
national debt.
dominant,
President
but
Obama
still
came
being
into office,
presidential.
He
Yep.
inherited the worst economic disaster since the Great Depression.
Punchy
He
but
has cut
polished.
the deficit by
Yeah.
2/3. So yes, one of the ways you go after the debt, one of the ways you create jobs is by investing in people. So I do have investments in new jobs, investments in education, skill training, and
It's
the
hard to even listen
opportunities
to
for
anything
people
she
to
says
get
because
ahead
it's all a
and
lie
stay
anyway.
I
ahead.
So
know.
it doesn't matter what platitudes or legalese she speaks in
Well,
because
and you can tell, it's like, and she's rambling, and she's not speaking sincerely at all. It's like nothing he said is. You can tell he's speaking from the heart.
That's
and
right.
She's just
Yeah.
reading her little cue cards, and that's it.
That's right.
Which has led to the slowest GDP growth since 1949.
Correct.
Thank you, sir. You told me when we spoke that the problem is that President Obama didn't get to do enough in what he was trying to do with this stimulus. So is your plan basically even more of the Obama stimulus?
Well, it's a combination, Chris. And let me say that when you inherit the level of economic catastrophe that President Obama inherited, it was a real touch and go situation. I was in the Senate before I became Secretary of State. I've never seen people as physically distraught as the Bush administration team was because of what was happening to the economy. I personally believe that the steps that President Obama took
I love
saved
the
economy.
Hawkeye
He
stare
doesn't
he
get
always
the credit
gives.
he deserves for taking
look
some
at
very
Exactly.
That's true.
Well, because
That
he's
one
just
right
sitting
there.
there, you know,
There it
he's
is.
ways he's gonna just devour her, and like how, like she's like, should I hold back a little bit here, or?
I am proposing is that we invest from the middle out and the ground up, not the top down. That is not going to work. That's why what I have put forward doesn't add a penny to the debt, but it is the kind of approach that will enable more people to take those new jobs, higher paying jobs. We're beginning to see some increase in incomes.
You think the cue cards tell her hands what to do too?
Probably, yeah.
Probably, man.
We've got to do more.
She has that, like, the Bush studied, like, don't use your point finger.
Don't use your
Hold,
pointer finger,
just
use
hold
the
the thumb
thumb
with your
finger.
hand, you know?
Conservative economists who have looked
Yeah,
at your
I
plan
mean,
say
she's
that
a
the
robot.
numbers don't
Yep.
add up,
And
that
a terribly shitty robot.
about 25 million jobs created, 4%
Over a 10-year period.
growth is unrealistic. And they say, you talk a lot about growing the energy industry, they say with oil prices as low as they are right now, that's unrealistic as well. Your response?
So I just left some high representatives of India. They're growing at 8%. China is growing at 7%, and that for them is a catastrophically low number. We are growing. Our last report came out, and it's right around the 1% level, and I think it's going down. Last week, as you know, at the end of last week, they came out with an anemic jobs report, a terrible jobs report. In fact, I said, is that the last jobs report before the election? Because if it is, I should win easily. It was so bad. The report was so bad. Look, our country is stagnant. We've lost our jobs. We've lost our businesses. We're not making things anymore, relatively speaking. Our product is pouring in from China, pouring in from Vietnam, pouring in from all over the world. I've visited so many communities. This has been such an incredible education for me, Chris. I've gotten to know so many. I've developed so many friends over the last year, and they cry when they see what's happened. I passed factories that were thriving 20, 25 years ago, and because of the bill that her husband signed, and she blessed 100%. It is just horrible what's happened to these people in these communities. Now, she can say that her husband did well, but boy, did they suffer as NAFTA kicked in, because it didn't really kick in very much, but it kicked in after they left. Boy, did they suffer. That was one of the worst things that's ever...
Always that wicked...
She just denies everything.
Yeah,
That's all she does.
Don't address it, don't talk about it. She says, nope, that's not true.
In one of the debates, she totally
Look
lied.
at her.
She did go
She's
to
like,
the
I'm
standard, and they actually fact-checked, and they said I was right. I was so honored.
I want to give you a chance to briefly speak to that, and then I want to pivot to 1/6
And that
of the
will be as
economy,
bad as
which is Obamacare. But go ahead.
Is that a point?
Well,
or what?
First, let me say, number one, when I saw the final agreement for TPP, I said I was against it. It didn't meet my tests. I've had the same tests. Does it create jobs, raise
Yeah,
incomes,
right.
and further our national...
Will it hollow out America and give all the jobs away and the businesses? You know, then I'm for it.
There's only one of us on this
She'll be
stage
for
who's actually
TPP as
shipped
soon as
jobs
she's
to
told to be
Mexico,
for it.
because
Should
that's Donald.
be
He's
elected.
shipped
Yep.
jobs to 12 countries, including Mexico. But he mentioned China.
See, the global elite, they get what they pay for when they put Hillary in. They pay for her to obey. That's what it's about.
Good point. Good point.
I have fought against that as a senator. I've stood up against it as Secretary of State. Donald has bought Chinese steel and aluminum. In fact, the Trump
Yeah, but so what? He's a businessman. He was not in the deal of like trying to rescue America at that point. He was like just making money.
But he has given jobs to Chinese steel workers, not American steel workers.
Yeah, and isn't that a good thing? Because they have been outsourcing all the jobs to China. It should be a virtue in her eyes.
Yeah.
Together, we're going to have trade agreements that we enforce. That's why I'm going to have a trade prosecutor for the first time in history. And we're going to enforce those agreements. And we're going to look for businesses to help us by buying American products.
I ask a simple question. She's been doing this for 30 years. Why the hell didn't you do it over the last 15, 20 years?
Yeah,
you were
that's the
very
point.
much involved. Excuse me, Mike. You were very much involved in every aspect of this country. Very much. And you do have experience. I'd say the one thing you have over me is experience, but it's bad experience because what you've done has turned out badly. For 30 years, you've been in a position to help. And if you say that I use steel or I use something else, I make it impossible for me to do that. I wouldn't mind. The problem is you talk, but you don't get anything done, Hillary. You don't. Just like when you ran the
That
State
is the point right there,
$6
ladies and gentlemen.
billion was missing. How do you
Look
miss
at her
$6 billion?
face.
You ran the State
Itching the
Department.
chin. Oh, yeah. She's rustled.
Was either stolen, they don't know. It's gone. $6 billion. If you become
The
president,
Russians stole it.
this country is going to be in some mess, believe me.
Well, first of all, what he just said about the State Department is not only untrue, it's been debunked.
This is all she
Oh,
says.
yeah, that's
all
not
she ever
true.
says.
That's not
Untrue.
true.
Not
That's all
true.
she ever says.
Should we give her a point for lying every time? Yeah, she can get another point. She's lying every time. That's right.
In the 1970s, I worked for the Children's Defense Fund, and I was taking on discrimination against African American kids
Oh,
in schools.
brother.
He was
There
inside
you
the
go.
Justice
There you
Department
go.
for
Oh,
racial
yeah.
discrimination.
Were those the
in
feral
his
ones?
apartment
What
building.
was he again?
In the 1980s,
What about
I
the
was working to
African
reform
Americans
schools
in
Arkansas.
Haiti that
He was
the Clinton
borrowing
Foundation
$14
took all the money
million
from?
from his
Oh, don't bring
father's
attention to that.
Correct.
In the 1990s, I went to Beijing and I said, women's rights are human rights. He insulted a former Miss Universe, Alicia Machado, called her an eating machine.
Give me
And on the day when I was in the Situation Room monitoring
That's
the
hilarious.
raid that brought Osama bin Laden to justice, he was hosting The Celebrity Apprentice. So I'm happy to compare my 30 years of experience, what I've done for this country, trying to help in every way I could, especially kids and families, get ahead and stay
Checking her
ahead
notes.
That's right.
30 years, and I'll let the American people make that decision.
Well, I think I did a much better job. I built a
Poor
massive
point,
company,
Hillary.
a great company, some of the greatest assets anywhere in the world, worth many, many billions of dollars. I started with a $1 million loan. I agree with that. It's a $1 million loan, but I built a phenomenal company. And if we could run our country the way I've run my company, we would have a country that you would be so proud of. You would even be proud of it. And frankly, when you look at her real record, take a look at Syria, take a look at the migration, take a look at Libya, take a look at Iraq. She gave us ISIS because her and Obama created this
Look at her
huge
smile.
vacuum.
That
And a small
face.
group came
The
out of that
same
huge
thing.
vacuum
Yeah.
because
Always.
when we should have never been in Iraq, but once we were there, we should have never got out the way they wanted to get out. She gave us ISIS as sure as you are sitting there And what happened is now ISIS is in 32 countries.
When you
and now
see
I listen
somebody
how
who's
she's going to get
totally
rid of ISIS.
busted
get rid of
in all of their lives.
All right,
just
we
looking
are
at
going
it.
to
That's a point for Trump.
hotspots
That's a good.
in a few moments, but the next segment is fitness to be president of the United States. Mr. Trump, at the last debate, you said your
Bring up Hillary falling down, her health issue.
was just that, talk, and that you'd never actually done it. And since then, as we all know, 9 women have come forward and said that you either groped them or kissed them without their consent.
Well, what does that matter when?
Nobody can dispute the fact that we need.
Make up, you deny this. Why would they all make up these stories? And since this is a question for both of you, Secretary Clinton, Mr. Trump says what your husband did and that you defended was even worse. Mr. Trump, you go first.
Well, first of all, those stories have been largely debunked. Those people, I don't know those people. I have a feeling how they came. I believe it was her campaign that did
Paid
it. Just
actresses.
like if you look at what
want
came
their
out today
attention.
on the clips, where I was wondering what happened with my rally in Chicago and other rallies where we had such violence.
Yes.
She's the one in Obama that caused the violence.
Yes, good point. Yeah, that's a point. Is bringing up the
$1,500,
Project Veritas
and they're
stuff.
on tape saying, be violent, cause fights,
Yep.
do bad things. I would say the only way, because those stories are all totally false. I have to say that. And I didn't even apologize to my wife, who's sitting right here, because I didn't do anything. I didn't know any of these women. I didn't see these women. These women, the woman on the plane, the woman, I think they want either fame or her campaign did it. And I think it's her campaign.
Doesn't he have his own
Because
plane?
What I saw, what they did, which is a criminal act, by the way, where they're telling people to go out and start fistfights and start violence. And I'll tell you what, in particular in Chicago,
there we go.
people were hurt and people could have been killed in that riot. And that was
This
now
is great.
all on tape.
Let the question and
started
talk
by
about
her.
something
I
serious and
believe,
legitimate.
Chris,
This is a good
that
move.
She got these people to step forward. If it wasn't, they get their 10 minutes of fame. But they were all totally, it was all fiction. It was lies and it was fiction.
Yeah, that's the point to Trump
Well,
right there.
Secretary Clinton.
At the last debate, we heard Donald talking about what he did to women. And
Again.
after that, a number of women have come forward.
One of her
saying
biggest
that's exactly
contributors posted on Twitter $5 million for anyone who would step forward and make these allegations. I don't know why that hasn't been reported.
Oh, really? Interesting.
not possibly have done those things to those women because they were not attractive enough for
I did
them
not say
to be
that.
assaulted.
I did not say that.
In fact, he went on to say,
Her 2 minutes, sir. Her 2 minutes.
But did
he-
not
It-
say that.
It's her 2 minutes.
he went on to say, look at her. I don't think so. About another
So
woman.
what?
He said,
So
he's
what?
got,
wouldn't be my
Yeah.
choice.
some taste.
He attacked.
As a president, you must love how every woman looks
Yeah,
in
no
all
matter,
of America.
no matter what she
I will
looks like.
grab all
number of women.
pussies.
Yeah, exactly. I will discriminate against no pussy.
There will be no discrimination in my
bigger.
pussy grabbing.
He goes after their dignity, their self-worth, and I don't think there is a woman anywhere who doesn't know what
Like
that
she's murdering people. She's like starting
Covering.
wars. She wants to start a
Murdering
nuclear
women,
war
too.
with Russia, and she's
Exactly.
talking about what Trump has said to a woman allegedly.
Right.
And covering up for her husband raping women too.
Yeah.
demonstrate
Yeah.
who we
How
are
dare you?
and who our
Yeah.
country
Dare you?
and to stand up and
Well, it's just
very clear
deflection.
about
That's
Yeah,
all she's got.
that's all she does.
all she
Deflect,
got.
deflect, deflect. Deny,
how
lie.
we want to bring our country together, where we don't want to have the kind of pitting of people one against the other, where instead we celebrate our diversity. We lift
Oh, really?
But
Yeah. And I'm sure
Can
she
we-
celebrates her diversity and her little gated
America
community where
is
she
great
lives.
because America is
Yeah.
good.
Can we,
And
can
it
we
really
dock her
is
point for the
up to all
celebration of
us to
diversity?
make that
Yeah, we take we
now
can take
and
one
in the
way. Yeah,
future,
let's do that.
particularly
I'll
for
do
our
that right now.
children
Somebody's
and our
doing the raping.
Mr. Trump.
Nobody has more respect for women than I do. Nobody. Nobody has more respect.
Please, everybody.
And
Back to one for Hillary.
frankly, those stories have been largely debunked. And I really want to just talk about something slightly different. She mentions this, which is all fiction, all fictionalized, probably or possibly started by her and her very sleazy campaign. But I will tell you, What isn't fictionalized are her emails, where she destroyed 33,000 emails criminally, after getting a subpoena from the
Bring it
United
up.
States Congress. What happened to the FBI? I don't know. We have a great general, 4-star general, today, you read it in all the papers, going to potentially serve 5 years in jail for lying to the FBI. One lie. She's lied hundreds of times to the people, to Congress, and to the FBI. He's going to probably go to jail. This is a 4-star general, and she gets away with it, and she can run for the presidency of the United States. That's really what you should be talking about, not fiction, where somebody wants fame or where they come out of her crooked campaign.
Oh yeah, here we go. That's Trump point.
Bring that belt.
Pushed on something which is obviously uncomfortable, like what these women are saying. He immediately
Back to these tiny issues
Yeah,
that are just
exactly. Because
utterly useless.
it's all she has.
It's not just about women.
Yes, it is
He
for
never
you.
apologizes or says he's sorry for anything. So we know what he has said, and
He apologized for the
That's actually a
comments
good
he made.
thing.
Well, yeah, that too, but he actually he did apologize for the locker room comment.
We're tired of white men who are apologizing. We don't want that anymore.
Yeah, that's right.
parents of a young man who died.
Is she going to apologize for Bill and Vince Foster and all
Yep,
that?
I know. Her murder record.
Her entire life, essentially.
People who aren't captured. He went after a federal judge born in Indiana, but who Donald said couldn't be trusted to try the fraud and racketeering case against Trump University.
Because he was part of La
because his
Raza.
parents were Mexican.
Yeah,
so it's
exactly.
not one thing. This is a pattern of divisiveness, of a very dark and
Wrong, Hillary.
dangerous vision
Wrong.
of our country. Where
She's the one who's just like
violence-
starting
As the
wars and
as
stuff.
the identity politics candidate for the left.
Exactly. Yeah, for everyone else except white people.
America is. And I hope that as we move in the last weeks of this campaign, more and more people will understand what's at stake in this election.
His smirk. Look at that.
Yeah.
I know, he knows it.
He almost looks like Pepe right there.
Smug Pepe. Yeah.
And she caused the violence. It's
look,
on tape.
during
Now,
the last-
other things are false, but honestly, I'd love to talk about getting rid of ISIS, and I'd love to talk about other things.
Okay.
But those other charges, as she knows, are false.
In this bucket about fitness to be president, there's been a lot of developments over the last 10 days since the last debate. I'd like to ask you about them. These are questions that the American people have. Secretary Clinton, during your 2009 Senate confirmation hearing, you promised to avoid even the appearance of a conflict of interest with your dealing with the Clinton Foundation while you were Secretary of State. But emails show that donors got special access to you. Those seeking grants for Haiti relief were considered separately from non-donors,
First time
and
the
some of
foundation
those
has ever
donors
been
got
mentioned at a debate.
government
Another point for
contracts,
Wallace. He
taxpayer
now has
money.
one more point than
Can
Clinton.
you really say that you kept your pledge to that Senate committee? And why isn't what happened and what went on between you and the Clinton Foundation, why isn't it what Mr. Trump calls pay to play?
Well, everything I did as Secretary of State was in furtherance of our country's interests and our values. The State Department has said that. I think that's been proven. But I am happy. In fact, I'm thrilled to talk about the Clinton Foundation because it is a world-renowned charity. And I'm
Yeah,
sure
right.
is.
That is wise.
You know, I could talk for the rest of the debate. I know I don't have the time to do that. But just briefly, the Clinton Foundation made it possible for 11 million people around the world with HIV/AIDS to afford treatment, and that's about half of all the people in the world who are getting treatment. In partnership with the American Health Association, we have made environments in schools healthier for kids,
Secretary
including
Clinton,
healthier lunches.
respectfully, this is an open discussion.
Well, it is an open discussion.
I understand, and the
and
specific
you-
question went to pay for play. Do you want to
Well,
talk
but
about
there
that?
is no, but there is no evidence. But there is a lot of evidence about the very good work
And it's a
the
criminal
high
enterprise,
rankings that
and
the
so many
children
people
from the
know
Clinton
it.
Foundation
It's a
have gotten
criminal
for their work.
enterprise. Saudi Arabia giving $25 million, Qatar, all of these countries. You talk about women and women's rights. So These are people
Point to
that push
Trump.
gays off business, off buildings. These are people that kill women and treat women horribly, and yet you take their money. So I'd like to ask you right now, why don't you give back the money that you've taken from certain countries that
Disavow
treat certain groups of people so horribly? Why don't you give back the money? I think it would be a great gesture.
Well,
because she takes a tremendous amount of
point to
money.
Trump.
And you take a look at the people of Haiti.
Look
I
at
was
her
at a little
face.
Haiti
Yep.
the other day
Done.
in Florida.
Wow. That's the sign there, scratch, like the scratch sign right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, these are all like totally.
All right.
He's mentioning Haiti right
Yeah.
here.
Is a disgrace.
Yeah, look at her. Yeah.
And you know
Eyebrows
it,
raised.
and they know it, and everybody knows it.
Secretary
Well,
Clinton.
very quickly, we at the Clinton Foundation spend 90%,
That's a fine.
90% of all the
Say that
money
again, Andrew.
that
You're a bit low.
is
Make sure to speak
donated
up.
On behalf of programs of people
That's her sign to
around
get
the
help.
world and
One of
in
the
our
videos
own
that-
country.
Exactly.
I'm very proud of that. We have the highest rating from the watchdogs that follow foundations. And I'd be happy to compare what we do with the Trump Foundation, which took money from other people and bought a 6-foot portrait of Donald. I mean, who does that? It just was astonishing. But when it comes to Haiti, Haiti is the poorest country in our hemisphere. The earthquake and the
We made it
hurricanes, it has
possible for
devastated
Haiti
Haiti.
to give
Bill
the
and I have
Clinton
been involved
Foundation
trying to help
millions
Haiti
of
for
dollars.
many
What a
years.
great
The Clinton
deed.
Foundation raised $30 million to help Haiti after the catastrophic earthquake and all
The
of
only
the
reason
terrible
Haiti can't help
problems that
itself
people
is
there
because
have.
they murdered all of the
We've
white
done
people there.
things
with
That
their
is
They sure
correct.
did.
Absolutely correct.
Agriculture
Yep.
and so much else. And we're going to keep working to help Haiti because it's an important part of the American
They don't want you to help
experience.
them
No, it's
anymore.
not. Haiti is part of the American
American
experience.
Trump Foundation, small
Oh,
foundation.
man. That
Giant
deserves
black
it.
hole.
I contribute. The money goes 100% goes to different charities, including a lot of military. I don't get anything. I don't buy boats. I don't buy planes. What happens is the money goes out.
Wasn't some of the money used to settle your lawsuit, sir?
No, it was, we put up the American flag, and that's it. They put up the American flag. We fought for the right in Palm Beach to put up the American flag.
There was a penalty that was imposed by Palm Beach County,
There
and the money
was,
came
there
from
was,
your
and
foundation
by the way, the money,
instead of Mar-a-Lago
the
or
money
yourself,
went
sir.
to Fisher House, where they build houses. The money that you're talking about went to Fisher House, where they build houses for veterans and disabled.
I want to get into one
But
last.
of course, there's no way we can know whether any of that is true because he hasn't released his tax returns. He is the first
Ooh,
candidate ever
burn.
to run for president in the last 40 plus years who has not released his tax returns. So everything he says about charity or anything else, we can't prove it. You can look at our tax returns. We've got them all out there. But what is really troubling is that we learned in the last debate he has not paid a penny in federal income tax. And we were talking about
Is that a point
immigrants
for
a few
Hillary?
minutes ago, Chris.
Well, there's no law. There's actually no law.
Nobody learned anything. It never happened. I mean, they just
Federal income tax. So
conjecture.
We have undocumented immigrants in America.
As Ron
who are
Paul would
paying
say,
more
federal income taxes.
than
There's no law,
Unlawful.
actually.
Let me just tell you very
Astonishing.
He took a law. He doesn't have to pay for 18 years.
And they don't have to release it. It's just a voluntary thing.
Massive amounts of depreciation and other charges, and we do it. And all of her donors, just about all of them. I know Buffett took hundreds of millions of dollars. George Soros, took hundreds of millions of dollars. Let me just explain. All of her donors, most of her donors have done the same thing as I did.
Okay.
And you know what you should have done?
Folks, we heard
and
this.
you know, Hillary, what you should have done? You should have changed the law when you were a United States Senator. If you
Folks,
don't like
we heard
it.
this. Yeah.
Because your
That's
donors
points
and
to
your
Trump.
special interests are doing the same thing as I do, except even more so. You
Yeah.
should change the law, but you won't change the law because you take in so much money. I mean, I sat in my apartment today on a very beautiful hotel down the street known as Trump.
Made with Chinese steel.
But I will tell you, I sat there.
So what?
I sat there watching ad after ad after ad, false ad, all paid for by your friends on Wall Street that gave so much money because they know you're going to protect them. And frankly, you should have changed the
Mr.
laws.
Trump,
if you don't like what I did, you should have changed the laws.
Mr. Trump, I want to ask you about one last question in this topic. You have been warning at rallies recently that this election is rigged and that Hillary Clinton is in the process of trying to steal it from you. Your running mate, Governor Pence, pledged on Sunday that he and you, his words, will absolutely accept the result of this election. Today, your daughter Ivanka said the same thing. I want to ask you here on the stage tonight, do you make the same commitment that you will absolutely, sir, that you will absolutely accept the result of this election?
I will look at it at the time. I'm not looking at anything now. I'll look at it at the time. What I've seen is so bad. First of all, the media is so dishonest and so corrupt, and the pile-on is so amazing. The New York Times actually wrote an article about it that they don't even care. It's so dishonest, and they've poisoned the minds of the voters. But unfortunately for them, I think the voters are seeing through it. I think they're going to see through it. We'll find out on November 8th, but I think they're going to see through it.
But, sir,
if you look, excuse me, Chris, if you look at your voter rolls, you will see millions of people that are registered to vote. Millions. This isn't coming from me. This is coming from Pew Report and other places. Millions of people that are registered to vote that shouldn't be registered to vote. So let me just give you one
They'll
other
use
thing.
illegals to win. Is what
dead
they'll try.
people. Yeah, people who've been dead for like 3 years.
Tell you one other thing. She shouldn't be allowed to run. She's guilty of a very, very serious crime. She should not be allowed to run. And just in that respect, I say it's rigged because she should never, Chris, she should never have been allowed to run for the presidency based on what she did with emails and so many other things.
But, sir, there is a tradition in this country. In fact, one of the prides of this country is the peaceful transition of power, and that no matter how hard fought a campaign is, that at the end of the campaign, that the loser
They should make Obama
to the winner.
promise to accept the results of the election, to be honest. I mean,
yeah,
what a stupid
He's
question.
taking a side.
That is a stupid question. If there is actual fraud, why should you be entitled to?
What I'm saying is that I will tell you at the time.
Yeah.
I'll keep you in suspense.
Well,
okay?
Chris, let me respond to that because that's horrifying. You know, every time Donald thinks things are not going in his direction, he claims whatever it is rigged against him.
It's a Russian conspiracy. The Russians.
Yeah, that's not a conspiracy.
That one of George Soros' subsidiaries is behind some of the voting machines in some of these states. I mean, that's a verifiable.
Yeah,
fact.
Diebold. Yeah, there's a company called Diebold that built the machines. Blackboxvoting.org. She does the best. Bev Harris. She does the best exposure of why these machines are rigged and why they're going to use it against Trump.
Well, George Soros has a controlling interest in Smartmatic, which owns voting machines in 16 states.
That's right. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. He should absolutely leave the legal recourse on the table.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that is not the way our democracy works. We've been around for 240 years. We've had free and fair elections. We've accepted.
As she stole it from Bernie herself, the nominee.
Look, it's almost like she knows it's rigged. That's why she's saying this.
Anyone standing on a debate stage during a general election. You know, President Obama said the other day, when you're whining before the game is even finished, it just shows you're not up to doing the job. And let's be clear about what he is saying.
That means he's smart and he sees what's happening. He picks up and
He's
knows.
talking down our democracy. And I, for one, am appalled that somebody who is the nominee of one of our two major parties would
It's
take
so
that
disgusting, folks. It's incredible.
Yeah, she's such a liar. So corrupt.
She's appalled that someone's actually using critical thought and going to look at the system caught up for the bullshit that it really is.
I think it's disgraceful. I think it's a disgrace.
All right.
I think we've never had a situation so bad.
Hold on,
in this
folks.
country.
This doesn't do any good for anyone. Let's please continue the debate and let's move on to the subject of foreign
Sure, doing me a lot of good, Chris.
The Iraqi offensive to take back Mosul has begun. If they are successful in pushing ISIS out of that city and out of all of Iraq, the question then becomes, what happens the day after? And that's something that whoever of you ends up as president is going to have to confront. Will you put U.S. troops into that vacuum to make sure that ISIS doesn't come back or isn't replaced by something even worse? Secretary Clinton, you go first in this segment. You have 2 minutes.
Well, I am encouraged that there is an effort led by the Iraqi army, supported by Kurdish forces, and also given the help and advice from the number of special forces and other Americans on the ground. But I will not support putting American soldiers into Iraq as an occupying force. I don't think that is in our interests, and I don't think that would be smart to do. In fact, Chris, I think that would be a big red flag waving for ISIS to reconstitute itself. The goal here is to take back Mosul. It's going to be a hard fight. I've got no illusions about that. And then continue to press into Syria to begin to take back and move on Raqqa, which is the ISIS headquarters.
Yeah, as America's been giving all these resources to these moderate rebels, make sure that it ends up in the hands of ISIS. Of course, it's going to be difficult. Was it 2,500 Humvees that were handed away to ISIS forces? Weapons, resources, everything.
Syria will remain a hotbed of terrorism as long as the civil
Can
war.
you imagine having to listen to this voice for 4 to 8 years? They're remaking Stephen King's It. She should be a manifestation of It. She's far more terrifying than Pennywise.
Yeah.
Are you trying to give me nightmares? You got to stop.
Why we have to make sure here at home we don't let terrorists buy weapons. If you're too dangerous to fly, you're too dangerous to buy a gun. And I'm going to continue to push for a no-fly zone and safe havens within Syria, not only to help protect the Syrians and prevent the constant outflow of refugees, but to
help rearm the moderate rebels.
Government and the Russians, so that perhaps we can have the kind of serious negotiation necessary to bring the conflict to an end.
Her policy has been egging this conflict on. That's all she's been doing.
Well, as I linked in the chat there, you can see the CFR article from 2011 talking about the use of radical Islam. That's her crew there, the CFR.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, Mosul's so sad. We had Mosul. But when she left, when she took everybody out, we lost Mosul. Now we're fighting again to get Mosul. The problem with Mosul, and what they wanted to do, is they wanted to get the leaders of ISIS, who they felt were in Mosul. About 3 months ago, I started reading that they want to get the leaders, and they're going to attack Mosul. Whatever happened to the element of surprise? Okay? We announced we're going after Mosul. I've been reading about going after Mosul now for about, how long is it, Hillary? 3 months? These people have all left. They've all left. The element of surprise. Douglas, MacArthur, George Patton, spinning in their graves when they see the stupidity of our country. So we're now fighting for Mosul that we had. All she had to do is stay there. Now we're going in to get it. But you know who the big winner in Mosul is going to be after we eventually get it? And the only reason they did it is because she's running for the office of president. And they want to look tough. They want to look good. He violated the red line in the sand, and he made so many mistakes, made all mistakes. That's why we have the Great Migration. But she wanted to look good for the election, so they're going in. But who's going to get Mosul, really? We'll take Mosul eventually. By the way, if you look at what's happening, much tougher than they thought. Much, much tougher, much more dangerous, going to be more deaths than they thought. But the leaders that we wanted to get are all gone because they're smart. They say, what do we need this for? So Mosul is going to be a wonderful thing, and Iran should write us a letter of thank you, just like the really stupid, the stupidest deal of all time, a deal that's going to give Iran absolutely nuclear weapons. Iran should write us yet another letter saying thank you very much, because Iran, as I said many years ago, Iran is taking over Iraq, something they've wanted to do forever, but we've made it so easy for them. So we're now going to take Mosul, and you know who's going to be the beneficiary? Iran. Boy, are they making, I mean, they are outsmarting. Look, you're not there. You might be involved in that decision, but you were there when you took everybody out of Mosul and out of Iraq. You shouldn't have been in Iraq, but you did vote for it. You shouldn't have been in Iraq, but once you were in Iraq, you should have never left the way. The point is, the big winner is going to be Iran.
Well,
I don't know about that.
Once again, Donald is implying that he didn't support the invasion of Iraq. I said it was a mistake. I've said that years ago. He has consistently denied what is a very clear fact, that before the invasion, he supported it. And, you know, I just want everybody to go Google it. Google Donald Trump Iraq.
Go to Hillary.com. Well, on Hillary.com, you can read.
Eric Schmidt has to tell everybody.
Can we also Google the WikiLeaks, or are we not supposed to?
No, that's on the dark, deep corners of the internet.
CNN says no.
He has not told the truth about that position. I guess he believes it makes him look better now to contrast with me because I did vote for it. But what's really important here is to understand all the interplay. Mosul is a Sunni city. Mosul is on the border of Syria. And yes, we do need to go after Baghdadi, and just like we went after bin Laden while you were doing Celebrity Apprentice, and we brought him to justice.
Yeah, like he was supposed to be into American foreign policy at that point, a businessman. She's an idiot.
They're estimated several thousand fighters in Mosul. They've been digging underground. They've been prepared to defend. It's going to be tough fighting, but I think we can take back Mosul, and then we can move on into Syria and take back Raqqa. This is what we have to do. I'm just amazed that he seems to think that the Iraqi government and our allies and everybody else launched the attack on Mosul to help me in this election. But that's how Donald thinks, you know. He always is looking for some...
Chris, we don't
With
gain
Trump, for better or
anything.
worse, and it's almost always better. You know he's speaking as a man. You know he's speaking as an individual. With her, you know everything she says is scripted.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Secretary Clinton,
He
it's an
says
open
he-
discussion.
he's-
Let
he says
Secretary,
We would have gained
Now,
if they did it by
Secretary,
surprise.
please
They
let
did not
Mr.
do
Trump
it that
speak.
way.
He's unfit,
Go ahead.
and he proves it every
No,
time
you
he
are the
talks.
one that's unfit. You know, WikiLeaks
Yeah, there
just
you go.
actually came out. John Podesta said some horrible things
Back to
about
WikiLeaks.
you. And boy, was he right. He said some beauties. And you know, Bernie Sanders,
Here we go.
he said you have bad
Yeah.
judgment. You do. And if you think that going into Mosul, after we let the world know we're going in, and all of the people that we really wanted, the leaders, they're all gone. If you think that was good, then you do. Now, John Podesta said you have terrible instincts. Bernie Sanders said you have bad judgment. I agree with both.
Well, you should ask Bernie
Yeah.
Sanders who he's supporting for president, and he has said,
Which is
as
a
he
big
has
mistake.
campaigned for me around the country,
Yeah, 'cause
you are the
Bernie's so
most
credible.
dangerous person to run
Yeah.
for president in the modern history of America. I think he's right.
Because he has a gun held to his head.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mr. Trump, in the last debate,
Yeah.
You will
was
support
asked
Hillary.
about the situation in the Syrian city of Aleppo, and I want to follow up on that because you said several things in that debate which were not true, sir. You said that Aleppo has basically fallen. In fact, there are.
It's a catastrophe.
It is a catastrophe, but there are a quarter.
Have you
of
seen it? Have you seen it?
Sir,
Have you seen what's happened
sir,
to Aleppo?
if I might finish my question.
Okay, so it hasn't fallen. Take a look at it.
Well, there are 250,000
All right,
people
point to
still
Trump
living
for
there
that.
and being slaughtered. You also
And they are being slaughtered
Yes.
because of bad decisions.
If I may just finish here. And you also said that that Syria and Russia are busy fighting ISIS. In fact, they have been the ones who've been bombing and shelling eastern Aleppo, and they just announced a humanitarian pause, in effect admitting that they have been bombing and shelling Aleppo. Would you like to clear that up, sir?
Well, Aleppo is a disaster. It's
Well,
a
of course, they're trying to actually fight
nightmare.
ISIS.
But it has fallen from from any standpoint. I mean, what do you need? A signed document? Take a look at Aleppo. It is so sad when you see what's happening. And a lot of this is because of Hillary Clinton. Because what's happened is by fighting Assad, who turned out to be a lot tougher than she thought, and now she's going to say, oh, he loves Assad. He's just much tougher and much smarter than her and Obama. And everyone thought he was gone 2 years ago, 3 years ago. He aligned with Russia. He now also aligned with Iran, who we made very powerful. We gave them $150 billion back. We give them $1.7 billion in cash. I mean cash, bundles of cash as big as this stage. We gave them $1.7 billion. Now, they have he has aligned with Russia and with Iran. They don't want ISIS, but they have other things because we're backing rebels. We don't know who the rebels are.
Yes.
Yes.
We're giving them
Point to Trump.
lots of money, lots of everything. We don't know who the rebels are. And when and if, and it's not going to happen because you have Russia and you have Iran now, but if they ever did overthrow Assad, you might end up with as bad as Assad is, and he's a bad guy. But you may very well end up with worse.
He has
than
to be to
Assad.
deal with some of those
That's the
people.
point.
If
Exactly.
she did nothing,
Yep.
we'd be in much better shape. And this is what's caused the Great Migration, where she's taken in tens of thousands of Syrian refugees who probably, in many cases, not probably, who are definitely, in many cases, ISIS aligned. And we now have them in our country. And wait till you see, this is going to be the great Trojan horse. And wait till you
Yep.
see
He's
what
right.
happens in the coming years. Lots of luck, Hillary. Thanks a lot for doing a great job.
Awesome. Awesome.
Debating again today that you would impose a no-fly zone to try to protect the people of Aleppo and
nailing
stop the
her.
killing there. President Obama has refused to do that because he fears it's going to draw us closer or deeper into the conflict. And General Joseph Dunford, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, says, you impose a no-fly zone, chances are you're going to get into a war, his words, with Syria and Russia. So the question I have is, if you impose a no-fly zone, first of all, how do you respond to their concerns? Secondly, if you impose a no-fly zone and a Russian plane violates that, does President Clinton shoot that plane down?
Well, Chris, first of all, I think a no-fly zone.
Of course she would.
could
She
save
start a
lives
nuclear
and
war with
hasten
Russia.
the end
She
of
gets
the
in.
conflict. I am well aware of the really legitimate concerns that you have expressed from both the president and the general. This would not be done just on the first day. This would take a lot of negotiation. It would also take making it clear to the Russians and the Syrians that our purpose here was to provide safe zones on the ground. We've had millions of people leave Syria, and those millions of people inside Syria who've been dislocated. So I think we could strike a deal and make it very
Which
clear
Soros
to the
just
Russians
gave
and the
500 million to help transition to Europe.
That's right. Yep.
of the people on the ground in Syria. It would help us with our fight against ISIS.
Yeah, what a heck of a
But I
guy
wanna
he is.
respond to what Donald said about refugees. He's made these claims repeatedly. I am not going to let anyone into this country who is not vetted, who we do not have confidence
That's just
in.
wrong. That's just wrong.
She gave a speech in front of a lot of Jews where she just said, we can't possibly vet all of them. It
Yeah.
came out.
Yep, that's right. Wasn't that Goldman Sachs or something? She did that
I
too?
wouldn't be
I
surprised.
don't know.
So we are going to do very careful, thorough vetting. That does not solve our internal.
Kind of blows me away that someone can lie.
So much. I know. She just lies.
Like, I mean, in the, well, how long is this thing down? An hour or so?
An hour and a half, yeah.
Lied more in an hour and a half than I have in 44 years of life.
Yep. She's a professional liar. That's what she does. Yeah.
That is exactly what she is.
Yeah.
That is exactly what she is.
Queens, the same place Donald was born. So let's be clear about what the threat is and how we are best going to be able to meet it. And yes, some of that threat emanates from over in Syria and Iraq, and we've got to keep fighting, and I will defeat ISIS. And some of it is we have to up our game and be much smarter here
Folks,
at home.
I want to get into our final segment.
But I just have to, it's
Real
so
quick.
ridiculous what
Last 5
She will
minutes.
defeat ISIS. We should have never let ISIS happen in the first place. And right now they're in 32 countries.
Okay.
You should have never. Wait 1 second. They had a ceasefire 3 weeks ago. A ceasefire, United States, Russia, Syria. And during the ceasefire, Russia took over vast swatches of land. And then they said, we don't want the ceasefire anymore. We are so outplayed on missiles, on ceasefires. They are outplayed. Now, she wasn't there. I assume she had nothing to do with it. But our country is so outplayed by Putin and Assad and, by the way, and by Iran. Nobody can believe how stupid our leadership is.
Mr. Trump, Secretary Clinton,
Well, that's gotta be a
to
point,
move on
right?
to our final segment, and that is the national debt, which has not been discussed until tonight. Our national debt as a share of the economy, our GDP, is now 77%. That's the highest since just after World War II. But the nonpartisan Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget says, Secretary Clinton, under your plan, debt would rise to 86% of GDP over the next 10 years. Mr. Trump, under your plan, they say it would rise to 105% of GDP over the next 10 years. Question is, why are both of you ignoring this problem? Mr. Trump, you go first.
Well, I say they're wrong because I'm going to create tremendous jobs. And we're bringing GDP from really 1%, which is what it is now. And if she got in, it'll be less than zero. But we're bringing it from 1% up to 4%. And I actually think we can go higher than 4%. I think you can go to 5 or 6%. And if we do, you don't have to bother asking your question because we have a tremendous machine. We will have created a tremendous economic machine once again. To do that, we're taking back jobs. We're not going to let our companies be raided by other countries where we lose all our jobs. We don't make our product anymore. It's very sad. But I'm going to create the kind of a country that we were from the standpoint of industry. We used to be there. We've given it up. We've become very, very sloppy. We've had people that are political hacks making the biggest deals in the world, bigger than companies. You take these big companies, these trade deals are far bigger than these companies. And yet we don't use our great leaders, many of whom back me and many of whom back Hillary, I must say. But we don't use those people. Those are the people, these are the greatest negotiators in the world. We have the greatest business people in the world. We have to use them to negotiate our trade deals. We use political hacks. We use people that get the position because they made a campaign contribution. And they're dealing with China and people that are very much smarter than they are. So we have to use our great people. But with that being said, we will create an economic machine, the likes of which we haven't seen in many decades. And people, Chris, will again go back to work, and they'll make a lot of money, and we'll have companies that will grow and expand and start from new.
Secretary Clinton.
Well, first, when I hear Donald talk like that and know that his slogan is "Make America Great Again," I wonder when he thought America was great.
Here it is.
And before he rushes and says, before you and President Obama were there, I think it's important to recognize that he has been criticizing our government for decades. Back in 1987, he took out a $100,000
Yeah, that's a problem, criticizing the government now?
during the time when President Reagan was president, and basically said exactly what he just said now, that we were the laughing stock of the world. He was criticizing President Reagan. This is the way Donald thinks about himself, puts himself into, the middle and says,
So now she's for like unwavering patriotism of always standing behind America, right?
Yeah, now she's like Ronald Reagan. This is the first time I've ever heard a Democrat do that.
It's amazing, yeah.
I'm proposing. I do not add a penny to the national debt. I take that very seriously because I do think it's one of the issues we've got to come to grips with. So when I talk about how we're going to pay for education, how we're going to invest in infrastructure, how we're going to get the cost of prescription drugs down, and a lot of the other issues that people talk to me about all the time, I've made it very clear we are going where the money is. We are going to ask the wealthy and corporations to pay their fair share. And there is no evidence whatsoever that that will slow down or diminish our growth. In fact, I think just the opposite. We'll have what economists call middle-out growth. We've got to get back to rebuilding the middle class, the families of America. That's where growth will come from. That's why I want to invest in you. I want to invest in your family. And I think that's the smartest way to grow the economy, to make the economy fairer. And we just have a big disagreement about
like
this.
A
maybe because of our experiences. He started off with his dad as a millionaire. I started off with my dad as a small businessman.
We've heard this before.
I think it's,
Yeah, I'm
it's
one of the small people with you. I'm on your side.
want to do with the economy.
Time.
Thank you, Hillary. Could I just respond?
Well, no.
Because I did disagree
No,
with
I
Ronald
can't
Reagan
respond.
very strongly on trade. I disagreed with him. We should have been much tougher on trade even then. I've been waiting for years. Nobody does it right. And frankly, now we're going to do it right.
All right. The one last area I want to get into with you in this debate is the fact that the biggest driver of our debt is entitlements, which is 60% of all federal spending. Now, the Committee for Federal...
That's amazing. 60%.
insane.
That is unbelievable.
Has a
It possibly can't be more than the
to solve
military,
the
though, right?
fact that Medicare is going to run out of money in the 2020s, Social Security is going to run out of money in the 2030s, and at that time, recipients are going to take huge cuts in their benefits. So, in effect, the final question I want to ask you in this regard is, and let me start with you, Mr. Trump, would President Trump make a deal to save Medicare and Social Security that included both tax increases and benefit cuts, in effect, a grand bargain on entitlements?
I'm cutting taxes. We're going to grow the economy. It's going to grow at a record rate.
But that's not going to help on entitlements.
It's going to totally help you. And one thing we have to do, repeal and replace the disaster known as Obamacare. It's destroying our country. It's destroying our businesses, our small business, and our big businesses. We have to repeal and replace Obamacare. You take a look at the kind of numbers that will cost us in the year 17. It is a disaster if we don't repeal and replace. Now, it's probably going to die of its own weight, but Obamacare has to go. The premiums are going up 60, 70, 80%. Next year, they're going to go up over 100%. And I'm really glad that the premiums have started. At least the people see what's happening, because she wants to keep Obamacare and she wants to make it even worse. And it can't get any worse. Bad health care at the most expensive price. We have to repeal and replace Obamacare.
And Secretary Clinton, same question, because at this point, Social Security and Medicare are going to run out. The trust funds are going to run out of money. Will you, as president, will you consider a grand bargain, a deal that includes both tax increases and benefit cuts?
Wishing
to
so
try to
much
save
that
both
she had
folks?
called in sick tonight.
Yeah, she looks sick, though.
That we need to put more money into the Social Security Trust Fund. That's part
Still
of
hoping she falls down, man.
It looked like it was close there for a little bit. She was like fading out.
Her
you know?
drugs are wearing off.
Yeah, probably.
Will go up, as will Donald's, assuming he can't figure out how to get out of it. But what we want to do is to replenish the Social
Such a nasty
Security
woman.
Trust Fund by making sure
That's a point.
that we have
It's gotta be a point right
sufficient
there.
resources. And that will come from either raising the cap and or finding other ways to get more money into it. I will not cut benefits. I want to enhance benefits for low-income workers and for women who have been disadvantaged by the current Social Security system.
What?
But what Donald is
Lana, don't
proposing
you
with
want
these
Hillary
massive
care?
tax
Wouldn't it be geared towards women?
$20 trillion additional national debt. That will have dire consequences for Social Security and Medicare. And I'll say something about the Affordable Care Act, which he wants to repeal. The Affordable Care Act extended the solvency of the Medicare Trust Fund. So if he repeals it, our Medicare problem gets worse. What we need to do is go
Your
after
husband disagrees
the
with you.
long-term health care drivers.
Yeah, they used to be against it, the Clintons. They in the 08 election, they spoke down to Obamacare, said it was a disaster. It's going to be a disaster.
Yeah, they have no principles. They just change with whoever pays them the most.
That's right,
That's
turncoats.
right. I mean, she was
Turncoats.
a good homosexual marriage in 2008, and it just she has no beliefs.
No, no.
End it on a
Talk about that after.
You had not agreed to closing statements, but it seems to me in a funny way that might make it more interesting because you haven't prepared closing statements. So I'd like you each to take it. We're going to put a clock up, a minute, as the final question in the final debate to tell the American people why they should elect you to be the next president. This is another new mini segment. Secretary Clinton, it's your turn to go first.
I'm sure she wasn't prepared. Look at this now.
To say to everyone watching tonight
Notes?
that I'm reaching out to all Americans, Democrats, Republicans, and independents, because we need everybody to help make our country
Great again.
to grow the economy, to make it fairer, to make it work for everyone. We need your talents, your skills, your commitment, your energy, your ambition. You know, I've been privileged
sounds
to
like a
see the
Marxist.
presidency up close. And I know the awesome responsibility of protecting our country and the incredible opportunity of working to try to make life better for all of you. I have made the cause of children and families really my life's work. That's what my mission will be in the presidency.
And
I will
how to
stand
wreck
up for
all the families.
Yeah, exactly. Specifically those families.
corporations. I will do everything that I can
This
to make
sounds
sure
like every generic political speech ever.
Yep.
that your kids have good educations from preschool through college. I hope you will give me a chance to serve as your president.
Because I have a vagina.
She's raising the money from the people she wants to control. Doesn't work that way. But when I started this campaign, I started it very strongly. It's called Make America Great Again. We're going to make America great. We have a depleted military. It has to be helped, has to be fixed. We have the greatest people on earth in our military. We don't take care of our veterans. We take care of illegal immigrants, people that come into the country illegally, better than we take care of our vets. That can't happen. Our policemen and women are disrespected. We need law and order, but we need justice too. Our inner cities are a disaster. You get shot walking to the store. They have no education. They have no jobs. I will do more for African Americans and Latinos than she can ever do in 10 lifetimes. All she's done is talk to the African Americans and to the Latinos. But they get the vote, and then they come back. They say, we'll see you in 4 years. We are going to make America strong again, and we are going to make America great again, and it has to start now. We cannot take 4 more years of Barack Obama, and that's what you get when you get her.
Thank you both. Secretary Clinton, hold on
Look at
just
her-
a moment,
look at her
folks.
smile.
Secretary Clinton,
Always.
Mr. Trump, I want to
Look
thank
at
you
her,
both
look at
for
her weird
participating.
face.
You know,
God.
that's
Yeah,
great.
that fake smile.
Brings to an end this year's debate sponsored by the Commission on Presidential Debates. We want to thank the University of Nevada, Las Vegas and its students for having us. Now the decision is up to you. While millions have already voted,
boy.
Election Day, November 8th, is just 20 days away. One thing everyone here can agree on, we hope you will go vote. It is one of the honors and obligations of living in this great country. Thank you and good night.
All right. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. There you have it. Oh, it just died right away. All right. Well, what we can say, though, is, of course, we had a staggering victory for Trump, 37-1.
Well,
That's,
we knew that was going to happen.
The one point was that she didn't seize.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Small speed.
Yeah, I retracted one of the points there for her incredible cucking there for a little
Diversity
bit.
comment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, that's right. She was up to 2 for consistently lying, but then when she did the diversity is our greatest strength, that's an automatically negative
yeah,
one.
exactly. You got to retract that one. Yeah, so where is it? There it is. That's the one I want to have. Yeah, there it is. 35. So there we go. There it is. Final score. 35-1.
That's
Wow. Okay. So this is. I mean, obviously, it was pretty. He was pretty intense. Kind of like it was in the second. I guess it didn't really derail that much, to be honest. But still, it was.
he went
was
for
pretty good.
media,
Yep.
for the rigged election, her foreign donors, the foundation, emails, Wall Street. He really went for it, didn't he?
Well, it's like I
think
told you all in the beginning, I thought.
that. You want to go?
Go ahead. No, you go ahead,
Uh,
Angela.
I think that kind of format was kind of limiting him. Of this moderator was like, okay, you. It wasn't like the town hall thing where they could walk around and pace at each other.
Yeah,
but
that was a better.
He
actually.
got the WikiLeaks in there. Yeah, he actually seemed to be more. I guess the word would be poised, and like he was like not. The second debate, I was like, what is going to happen? He was kind of like he walked in there. Now he came in. He did everything he had to do in a professional presidential manner, and kicked their ass with it. That's what I
totally agree.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. He did exactly what he needed to do. This was a perfect synthesis of the first debate and the second debate. Came together, said what he needed to say, let her dirty laundry sit out there, smell for itself. For many people watching tonight, I think this is probably the first time they ever heard about WikiLeaks, ever knew about any of this stuff, maybe even knew about some of the voter fraud things that have been going on, because the media isn't telling them. Trump did that for them, and I think he's going to be seeing a nice bump in the polls later this week.
Yeah.
But like I told y'all the Scotsman Chris Wallace would be a fair moderator, but I think he did do a better job, and that's to say very little than what we had seen previously. And I agree with what Jazzan said just a second ago, is a synthesis. I was wrong in thinking that Trump would try to up the second debate performance, which he needed to have a little slight overcompensation because the first one didn't go according to plan by any reasonable standard of measurement. But what we saw tonight, he was dominant, he was aggressive. He certainly scored his points, but he at the same time appeared very poised and very presidential, which is, I think, what he was trying to pull off in the first debate, but kind of did it a little too well, if you know what I mean. And so I think that we need to remember that this is Trump's third debate. Hillary Clinton's been doing this for a lifetime. This is his third round.
Very good point.
First two.
Yeah.
It took the first two to kind of get his bearings. I think tonight was, as we heard just a moment ago, a synthesis of everything that we needed to see: the aggressiveness, the commanding presence, but also the, for lack of a better term, the presidential demeanor that some of these undecideds needed to see. I think he put it all together in this one.
Yep, I agree. I think he gave her just enough rope, too, to kind of hang herself somewhat, to where he didn't have to come across as so aggressive this time. So he just kind of hung back and let her sort of lay it out there. And then, yeah, everything. I can't really add a whole lot to what you just said, because that's exactly how I
triggered. I think she was like, she felt like, I didn't see her like that the last two debates. See, Trump got more presidential. She got more triggered SJW.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we might want to see him kind of unleashed because it's fun, it's entertainment, it's, but he's obviously also, in all of this, he's thinking about what is going to get me elected, obviously, right? So he has a strategy here. He has an association where he must do this in the right way. And but I think he pulled it off. And at the same time, really hit her on all the stuff that has been coming out lately from the media, from this what the Project Veritas has been releasing, to them staging all these violent attacks at his rallies and stuff like that. He checked many of those boxes very well.
And you're right, though. They kept hitting the women angle. I thought for sure they were going to maybe bring up alt-right or racism or something, but it's constantly this women's issue.
That's what they've picked for some reason.
That's all they have. And it doesn't
especially
work.
Especially since the locker room comment thing came out. I mean, that seems to be like, they know that's almost like her last, like, Hail Mary. And they're just like, go after it any way you can.
Yeah, that's true. Now, she seems what's interesting with Hillary is that she's in a position where she basically just becomes this empty vessel for whatever the issue is at the time. She just like, I don't know, what is truly directing her. It's like what you said earlier, James, that it's like she doesn't actually believe any of this stuff. I mean, if you go back to the 2008 election when she was battling Obama, she even spoke up about Obama not liking white people and stuff like that. She brought up the birth certificate. Her and Bill, they were against Obamacare. They were outspoken about that. And now it's just like they've just forgotten that 8 years later. Now they're like on the side of Obama and getting his endorsements. And this is all lies. This is nothing
They're
like
fake.
This is not personal. This is just business.
No, she's a sociopath. She's a sociopath. Yeah. She's a bought and paid for career politician. And this is an anti.
That's the difference between a career politician and honestly, it's like Trump. What does he stand to really lose? If he loses, he goes back to being a billionaire. The end. Mm-hmm. I mean,
that's why he's not controlled opposition because he has everything to lose becoming president. I mean, like it's. Living his lavish lifestyle, he's saying things that would get him assassinated. I mean, just the 5-point lobby thing. Yeah. That right there is just, you're asking for it,
I think Hillary came off.
Draining the swamp, that's the thing that they don't want to happen. So he's not controlled. All these people, the conspiracies, it's so annoying. I'm like, no, here's one guy is not actually. And, I think the conspiracy theory land kind of it tells people, I have so many people on Facebook, oh, Angela, it's rigged. Yeah, I would agree with you if it was two puppets that, here's a guy coming out of nowhere. With all this money, he's saying everything that should never be said.
Right.
That's why I'm voting for Trump. I don't care if he was a Democrat or I don't care what party he's from. It's what he's saying and he's going to do because he has everything to lose.
Yeah, he's not saying anything that's going to benefit globalists, is he? He's only doing them harm.
Exactly.
Sorry, Jay, you were saying something?
I think that this was obviously a pretty stunning win on the part of Trump. If you look at Hillary, I was watching They Live recently, and if you recall in that John Carpenter movie, the politicians who are these alien creatures with the the sort of skeleton faces, and there's these ads on TV of the politicians are on there and they're saying, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this. I mean, this is exactly what Hillary just looked like a total cardboard cutout. Yeah. She looked like a puppet, like
her robot suit was malfunctioning at a
I think it was evident. I think it was
absolutely totally.
Well, and I can be honest about this. I obviously remember feeling very dejected and as if a balloon had been deflated after the first debate. It didn't nearly live up to my expectations. He solidified his base in the second debate because he was so confrontational, which is what we wanted to see. And again, I think Henrik or someone else mentioned it just a moment ago. Certainly we enjoy that entertainment aspect of it. But tonight he gave us everything we would have wanted, plus everything undecideds who may be considering him would have wanted. And again, to reiterate myself, he really put all the pieces together tonight. And it just as dejected as I felt after the first debate, I think tonight was a win. By any reasonable standard of measurement, I think Trump won the debate tonight.
Totally agree.
Yeah, definitely.
35-1 obviously is the score, but I think even outside this panel, you would have to say he won.
Oh yeah, it's just a big ding fest here.
Well, it's going to be great though when we're going to watch the media and they're going to say, it's going to be like hands down victory for Hillary.
Always,
which is what they've done every time.
Of course, exactly. Every time they do this, it's absolutely remarkable. So there's no more debates now. What is there going to be any more involvement between these two? That's it. Then no town halls or anything like that. This is it.
That's it.
Wow, it's amazing. Wow.
And so now
you do a lot of probably a lot of commercials, man, and that's it. Yeah.
So let's talk about this for a little bit. From now, leading up to the election. I mean, I'd say after most debates or major speeches like what Trump did after or during the RNC, his finale with the speech. I mean, that was just magnificent. It always felt like he's on top. He's like ruling the show basically, and then afterwards, the media has always whipped something out. There's always some scandal, and they just keep talking about it. They repeat these minor issues over and over and over again, and it's so annoying. But this is what they do, right? What do you guys think we're going to see from now up until the election? Is it just more of the same, or are they going to try to bring him down in a way that they haven't been able to do so far?
Well, they're definitely going to say that Hillary won the debate. It's going to be 100% consensus that Hillary routed him tonight in the establishment press. No one can predict what's going to happen between now and the next 2.5, 3 weeks out, because every day has been a different media manufactured and fabricated scandal. So there's going to be more twists and turns. It's not going to go from all of this excitement and then it's just they're going to run out the string.
Yeah, no, they've got exactly. It's like, and that I'm sure they've got dozens, if not hundreds, of people just in their trick bag trying to find out anything they can possibly dig up to just, whether it's truthful or not, to try to knock them down a peg. So,
and that's not just Hillary's side, who's certainly going to have their pay. I mean, we still have Assange if he's still alive. I mean, where's Assange? There's going to be. Yeah. It was so smart of WikiLeaks though not to dump everything, because then they could have counteracted that with the Billy Bush thing they were setting on and all of that. To have this slow trickle day after day of WikiLeaks, even though the establishment press is by and large relatively not covering it, it's still out there. It still is maybe a death by 1,000 cuts in the end of it all. But we'll see. I'm sure Assange or WikiLeaks or whatever has still got some things planned to be released. This thing is going to have many more turns before it's all over. But as far as the two candidates goes, it's going to be back to the trails, back to the whatever interviews they give or don't give, but it's whatever excitement there will happen beyond what they are able to generate. I believe it's going to be.
Might just go hibernation. She might just disappear again for like 100 days.
She usually, she does, right? No press conferences, no nothing. She just goes underground for a few days.
Hit her hard with new campaigns. I think the WikiLeaks is going to keep dropping. These other guys, the Project Veritas, they have still more stuff. He said they're going to release more videos until the election, I guess.
But so again, if only Fox News and Red Ice are covering it, it's not going to make an impact. So you're almost. That's why Trump.
But the upside, James, the upside with this though is that they are Trump is taking down the media with him, right? I mean, because everyone knows now that they are lying. Everyone knows what really is going on. People are going to independent sources. They're going to alternative media. I mean, that's really one of the second big winner in all of this too, I would say. And I would say, thank God for that. This is just excellent. And the more they lie, the more they cheat and are unfair in the way they are, they're going to go down. And it's awesome.
Well,
I said this to my friend. I said to my buddy, I said, look, even if Trump loses, it's over, because if he loses and everything he says comes true, then they have nothing. Then it's like game over no matter what, because if he says Hillary do this, and this, and then she does everything he said she was going to do when the media was lying, it's over for these people. That's why it's a win-win in a sick way.
You stole my
thunder. I don't want to win like that.
You stole my thunder a little bit there. You're right on point, and that is no matter what happens on November 8th, we are definitely going to be better off than we were or would have been a year and a half ago if it had been another Bush versus Clinton rematch. A delicious consolation has been presented to us, even if Trump should lose. It appears as though the Republican Party is going to be burned down if he's not the president. He's going to burn it down on the way out, so we're better off there. The media has been, if we needed any extra exposure as to the media was just completely in the tank and corrupt, Trump has just completely made that blatantly clear, even triggered the New York Times to admit in their own words that we're not even going to feign objectivity. We're here to sink Trump. So we're in a better off place. The alt-right has been born through Trump. Trump is a surrogate father, I guess, a godfather. We're much better off than we would have been had he not run, no matter what. But consolations aren't as good as an unmitigated victory, and that's still on deck too.
Well, because I mean, once you've gotten to this point, it's whet the appetite of what people have been hungry for so long. People have been so used to this safe, pseudo-political bullshit talk for so long that they didn't even engage anymore. But then you get somebody that like Trump that runs, whether he wins or loses, it's opened up this avenue that I don't think that there's going to be. I know, like personally, myself, and I know there's a lot of other people that feel this way too. They're not going to be satisfied with going back to that same old, like you had said before, like Bush versus whoever again. I don't think you can put the genie back in the bottle, so to speak.
It doesn't go back. It doesn't go back. But this thing, though, this is a once in a lifetime, even a once in a civilization opportunity, as I said a moment ago. This is a historic rise. It's delicious because it's been nuclear powered. Trump has been unstoppable because his campaign, really not even his campaign, he himself has been impervious to foot shuffling, complaints, whining, hysterical cries of racism and white supremacism. His supporters don't care because he has shown them you will not care and you will survive not caring. And there's something undeniably infectious about that masculine attitude. So no way, if he loses, it goes back to business as usual. But if you have a candidate like this in front of you, you've got to press the advantage and win while you can, because yes, there'll be good things that will come even if he's defeated, but it's not nearly going to be as good as a victory. And we have a chance to win, the first chance I've had in my lifetime to win, and we can win in 3 weeks. We've got to win.
I agree completely.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what does a Clinton presidency mean for America? If we just talk about that for a moment. I mean, I think it was even Jill Stein, the Green Party candidate, who's like, you know, vote for me or vote for Trump, because she will start a nuclear war with Russia. I mean, she's a megalomaniac. She's crazy, and she's doing, as we said before, she's doing anything that the globalists want her to do. She will obviously destroy America. She will destroy the European population in America. She will just open the borders and all these kinds of things. What do you guys think? What kind of America is it going to be with at least 4 years of Hillary in there?
Well, it's going to be the next phase after the identity politics of Obama, which was all based around race tensions that were hyped up by the establishment on purpose. She's going to take it into that next phase of destruction with gender politics, and it's going to be all about women. It's going to be all about abortion. It's going to be all about these ridiculous social justice causes. I guarantee you that's going to be ramped up. It's going to be the next phase of destruction. And I think that what's great about what you guys have said previously, this and what I said with Henrik the other day when we did an interview, this has allowed all of this to just be pushed out into the mainstream discussion. And I think that alone is a great victory. It's at least a stage towards achieving victory. But a Hillary presidency is going to be a complete disaster. It's going to be more of the same, especially foreign policy is a total disaster. I don't know that we'll see a world war, but we will see ramped up. She's a total war hawk. She's a total psychopath. We're going to see more of the destruction in the Middle East that we've seen already. All across the board, that you could not have a worse person than Hillary Clinton.
Well, if she wins, it's the demographic displacement is going to be cemented. There's no turning that back. There will be amnesty. War with Russia is a little ambitious, but it's not off the table. The church will be persecuted, which wouldn't be so bad because they need to get tougher. But it's going to be the nightmare of any person who considers themselves to be conservative, and that includes the cucks. It's going to be so bad. And as I said at the top of the program during the pre-debate commentary, this is the last election that we will have to reclaim any semblance of America's destiny through the existing mechanisms, which means through the ballot box. After this, you're demographically displaced, and maybe you become Haiti, maybe you become South Africa, maybe you become Brazil. But the America, as we have always known it going back to the founding, will be lost forever. That's the reality of a Hillary Clinton victory. That's what's on the line. It couldn't be more stark. The difference between the candidates, there's actually a difference for the first time since I've been alive. But it more than just being some difference, this is a difference between the America as we knew it and whatever comes next. And whatever comes next will be much, much worse. Some people say, let the bad times roll, let it get worse, let us get tough. Sometimes worse is just worse.
Yeah,
and,
right.
That's not something I want for my children as a father and as a husband.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be worse. I want it to be better. And if Trump wins, he's not going to make America great again because the moral and social rot is too deep. But it would be at least a step in the right direction, and from there we would see where it goes. But this is a big one, folks. Don't get it wrong.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, man. I haven't followed politics since George. I mean, the last time I voted, I was in the Marine Corps, so I voted for George Bush because he was my commander in chief. Then I never followed it again because I just didn't really care. I was like, "Oh, these are all rigged," and this is the first time. And I've told people this is the first time. All my friends, "I'm not voting. It's all rigged." Like, look, yeah, it's rigged against the person that they don't want to win, obviously. And this man is not part of the establishment. He has everything to lose. And what he's saying is exactly what we need to happen. If Hillary wins, first of all, she'll probably get impeached at some level, I would hope. But then the other guy walks in, Kane, whatever. But yeah, either way, if the Democrats get 3 more justices in there and they have all this power, we're going to have social justice warrior heaven for them. Hell for us, no doubt about it. They're going to persecute Christians. I'm not even Christian, but they'll persecute Christians. They'll persecute white people like you've never seen before. That's already started. They're going to go for everybody. And open borders, we won't have a country. We won't have a country at all. It will become Brazil, absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's going to be, and then the guns. I mean, they'll probably come from them, of course. It's going to be the worst thing we've ever seen. But, if let's say Trump runs again in 4 years, maybe that can happen. I mean, let's not say it couldn't happen. But if the demographic displacement is completed by then, which who knows if it could be, then we're really screwed, and it wouldn't matter again.
So. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a disaster in terms of what we're seeing happening right now. I mean, because it's already so far gone. As you said, James. I mean, it's so far gone. It's like how do you kind of repair it? But it's at least a last kind of ditch effort. And what do you call it? A sign of an awakening of a desire to fight back and say no, and I think that's in Trump's ability to do that. And yes, he probably is not going to make everything great. He's not going to turn everything around overnight. And we'll also see truly at that point how much power does a politician really have? How much power does a president really have? I mean, that's interesting, an interesting kind of thought in itself. But if anything, as many people have pointed out, he has become kind of a symbol for that, like for a kind of resistance against the type of globalism that we've seen, and the very fact that he's mentioning these things by name, which you never would get out of the mouths of any other candidate.
No, not at all.
Has pushed the dialogue into this direction, which is fantastic. He's given us so much in that regard.
Well, and that's what I wonder if Hillary did win, if we were that unfortunate, I just feel like people like ourselves have had a taste of that fight, and it's gotten people like what you had just said, Angelo, and myself. Like, I could have really not cared at all. I thought I was just like, it's all rigged, it's crap. This is the first time that I've been really engaged politically again at this level, and I know I can speak for dozens of other people that feel the same way. I just feel like there is a momentum behind us that even if she did win, we've kind of gotten our fight back in us a little bit. So I don't know. I think it would be awful, and I definitely think the social justice warrior heaven would be pushed, and they would try to make that become their little utopia. But I think there's enough people that are pissed off and have actually seen that there are options. I don't know what that would mean. I mean, I think that could mean some, whether that means like rioting in the streets, I have no idea. But I don't think people are going to take whatever she tries to dictate lying down.
Well, you bring up a good point in that our people have their fight, but of course that can dissipate quickly without a figurehead. All revolutions are top down. And if we don't have a strong leader at the helm, I mean, certainly I've been in media for 12 years. There's other leaders that are out there that have been fighting and will continue to fight, and we will do our thing to the extent of our abilities. But none of us have the microphone that Trump has. This is,
totally agree.
It would be a horrible waste of an opportunity to let this one slip through our fingers.
Yep.
And again, Trump could win the election in a landslide and still lose, if you know what I'm saying.
Right. Absolutely.
The only thing that gives me hope is that it certainly didn't benefit the interests of the globalists for Brexit to pass, and that sailed through. So maybe, just maybe, they won't be able to manipulate enough votes to stop this. But look, you're looking at evil people, regimes that manipulate world wars to protect their interests. And millions, hundreds of millions of lives to safeguard their interests. So to believe that they wouldn't manipulate an American election is obviously.
I mean, that's the furthest thing from their mind. I mean, we're completely disposable to them, and it's been going on for generations. So
Trump just doesn't have to win. He has to win, and then the votes have to be counted, and the electoral college has to be allocated properly. So that's a tough one. He has to win outright, and then we have to hope that somehow these corrupt people who, again, manipulate world wars and all of these lives would allow the legitimate votes to be reported, and
that might just give it to Hillary.
And I think it's I mean, we all know what happens to people that try to buck the system. I mean, JF, whether you care for the guy or not, but it's, JFK, people like that, stranger things have happened.
They shot Reagan, right? They shoot Reagan.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's truly remarkable what he's. It's amazing he hasn't gotten assassination attempts. Well, he has actually gotten assassination attempts, but it's like they might bring out the big guns even before the election. We'll just have to see. I mean, this is what Jay talked about too. Hillary has she has a number. She has like a whole list of dead people. She has blood on her hands. This is what the Clintons do.
Yeah, nothing's off limits at all to them.
Yeah, well, it's harder to George Wallace a candidate now than it used to be, but that would certainly not be beyond the realm of possibility, to say the least. I mean, that would be a little dramatic.
Let me ask you this. The Electoral College, from what I understand, there are certain states that you have to vote in the favor of the person that won the state, but there are some states that they don't have to do that, the Electoral College. Am I correct on that?
Well, we've never had a dog in a fight, so I've never really looked into that. No matter who wins, we lose in any other election, so I've never actually researched the contingency.
I was reading about certain states, they must, certain states have a law, if the candidate wins the state, the electorate has to vote for that person. In other states, they don't have to. So I got to know which states are. I hope it's not the big ones that can do that.
Well, again, but Donald Trump has already wisely positioned himself to some sort of a legal challenge, and I think that's a good option to keep on the table. They try to back him into a corner. American democracy, America's an evil place. The government, at least, the people used to be good. Now we're getting swamped, and so we're not the same people anymore. But he's very wise to not say that he's going to accept whatever comes of these results, because there could be an incident like you're talking about where he wins, but then all of a sudden the electors go rogue. So this is wise. But guys, I got to tell you, I've enjoyed tonight. I've got to get going, but it's been a privilege and a pleasure to be on with all of y'all, especially our great hosts and then all of the other panelists. And it's made the third debate even more memorable to be here and share it with y'all.
Yeah, well, thank you. We're going to round up here in a little bit, gentlemen. I also wanted to say, unfortunately, we lost Janet fairly early. Her battery died, she told me, so she dropped off, unfortunately. Jay had to go as well. We're going to round things up here soon, gentlemen. Thank you to everyone who did join us today. James Edwards, Jay Dyer, Jazz Hands, Angelo John Gage, Catalyst, and, of course, Lana as well. Do you guys, gentlemen, have any closing words before we end the live stream for this time?
No, you guys just keep up the fight, and I had really a great time. Thanks for having me on board.
Same here.
All right.
No.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks for the invitation.
Of course, you bet. We'll do it again. We'll keep monitoring, and we're actually going to do some election coverage as well, so we'll probably see some of you back here then. All right, thanks so much, guys. We'll wrap up for now.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
Go vote. Everybody vote.
Exactly. Go vote. That's right. Damn right. Exactly. Yeah, do go vote. And it's like, as we said, this is not, this is not about, solving all the problems that we face. The issue here at hand is basically that we have an establishment that is 100% against, Trump, and we have to recognize that accounts for something in terms of the, enemies that we're facing here. So, if you're able to vote, go out and do it, and make sure that keep Hillary out. I mean, that's part of this as well. Keep Hillary out of the situation, and basically make sure that Trump gets in. But we're going to wrap things up for this time. Thank you so much for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you next time. Redice.tv is the website. Do sign up for membership with us as well. Support what we do, and we'll see you soon again.